Join us for episode 15 of the Stadia Stream Connect podcast as we talk the BIG Stadia Connect, Project Chimera ramifications, and big gaming news with the one and only Clive and Stadia Rokks of Generation X Gaming Club. Let's get into it.
Stay sick cause I follow my gut. They say I was pushing my luck. I'ma push me a matte all black truck. Oh, I'm not sorry.
What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy MM2K of Stadia Dosage here with a special episode of Stadia Stream Connect podcast. With no further ado, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about, guys, and you guys are definitely not here to see me. I get it. I'm very self-aware, all right? But first, let's bring in our special guest. First, I want to bring in Clive, my buddy Clive. Hey, Clive, how's it going, my friend?
Yeah, how's it going, bro? This is good. This is going to be a good show tonight. I feel
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. Long overdue. And then, last but not least, Adam, a.k.a. Stadia Rokks. What's going on, my good friend?
I feel it too, but I think it's the old bones.
Yes. Hey,
look, man, so stoked to be on your show. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah,
hey,
absolutely.
You guys are just making ripples through the Stadia community. You guys have unique backgrounds as well. We're going to get into that, and I just love listening to how you two parse things down, and we can relate because we were talking about this before the show started. We're kind of Generation X gamers, with our Metamucil and our walking canes, right? So with that being said, I can relate to how you guys come up at the tail end of your opinions and things like that, and it's fantastic that you guys got a show together. You know what I mean? I think that's something that the community needs. So, let's get right into it. Clive and Adam, for those of us that live under a rock and may not know who you guys are or what your content is, can you individually tell us what you guys do separately and talk a little bit about Generation X? Let's start with Adam first.
Yeah. So what do I do? In terms of content, so
yeah.
So it's 99% of it Stadia, a tiny amount of additional cloud gaming stuff, but that's just because I've said it before. We're not. This isn't a This is a. If you've bought a box, then that's the thing you're invested in, and you're not going to likely play on some other system. With Stadia, it's about the games, and even Google themselves see it that way. So kind of spread it around a bit, but so I have a YouTube channel called Stadia Rokks. I'm on Twitter as Stadia Rokks. I have a website, stadiarokks.uk. So it's all Stadia Rokks, really. And Generation X is something that it was Clive's idea. He and I had been kind of talking behind the scenes on various bits and pieces. I got Clive to record a rising star or a star of Stadia video, which has yet to see the air, but it will be live soon.
It's filthy.
It's a bit pornographic. I've had to have him do it a couple of times just to keep it clean. And out of that, really, Clive said, do you want to do something together? I've got a great idea. At that point, he thought I was hugely older than him, so he was quite disappointed to find out we're the same age. We got it on. And here we are. But, I always bow to his greater knowledge. I'm really just hanging on to his coattails or his hoodie tails.
You guys. Shucks.
Oh, shit. Oh, shucks. Yeah.
The chemistry is there too. The chemistry is just awesome there, too. And I think it's, again, because you guys both come from an era of gaming where the philosophies are quite similar. So, Clive, let's talk a little bit about what you do, your platform. I actually came across you a while ago and just had difficulty reaching out to you. I always sent you these cryptic messages. Yeah, we got to talk.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, okay, what the hell's going on here? But talk a little bit about your platform and what you do, my friend.
Okay, so I have a YouTube channel, strangely enough, called Clive Illingdon. Because I like to self-promote. That's what it's called. And it's a load of random tech stuff. It kind of, most of it's like stuff I just buy from Amazon. So obviously I happen to be into computers and gaming and whatnot. And so I just started reviewing stuff, and some people showed some interest in that, which is kind of cool. Oddly enough, I did a review of an Xbox controller, and it just blew up. It's still today. I'm
another one.
But they're like 50,000 odd views that's had. It's just like crazy. And then I did a review on the Project X Cloud, and that blew up, and I got loads of subscribers out of that, because I was always interested in the potential of cloud gaming, and I tried the Shadow PC, tried Project X Cloud at the time, and I could sit. They didn't quite work. Mm-hmm. Well, they were there. They were almost there, but you kind of had to sort of almost forgive them for a slight bit of lag. Mm-hmm. Less so Shadow PC, but certainly with the X Cloud. But when Stadia announced Google, I thought, right, I'll do an unboxing when it arrives. I'm buying into that message. Their message, I was like, yeah, you've got me, because if anybody can do it, they pay the money to get the best engineers in the world. So if it's possible to do this cloud gaming thing, they're the company that are going to prove that it can be done, because they pay for the best sort of engineers there are, and they kind of run the internet effectively. So if anybody's going to do it, I thought they could do. So I just thought, it'll just be another unboxing, and then from that I sort of began to sort of do more Stadia content and join in with this sort of Stadia content creators community a bit more, and just do more and more and see other people do these podcasts. So now I have my Stadia Monday night podcast on a regular basis. And then I invited Adam on, and we talked about an hour beforehand and about 2 hours afterwards as well, I seem to remember. Yeah. And I'd been thinking about, like often YouTube's sort of considered it's a young man's game, YouTube, isn't it? Young man's game. It's all these 20-somethings. And I've always been fascinated by YouTube. Like I was saying earlier, like I'm always fascinated by the new. I'm not a person who keeps harking back to the past necessarily, unless it's to inform me of the present, as it were, in the future. So, and I try to get my kids to be YouTubers and stuff and all that. That didn't last long. So I ended up doing it. I wanted to live my life vicariously through them, but in the end, I thought, no, I'll do it myself. Mm-hmm. And now I'm a YouTube partner on that main channel. And so then I was thinking, look, there's plenty of gaming podcasts and gaming news sites on YouTube, but it's all from a younger perspective. And as you kind of touched on earlier, there's a whole generation of gamers or people who've grown up gaming. They may have gone quiet. They may be sleepers at the moment, but they're still interested in gaming. But where's that slightly older voice on gaming, that can still be into current gaming like anybody else? But just so Adam and I got talking, we resonated on it, and I just thought, okay, I have this idea. I'm going to share it with Adam, because I wanted, it always works better if there's a couple of people doing it, so you can sort of riff off each other a bit. And that's how it came about. Generation X Gaming Club.
Yeah, much needed. And that's a great point. Before we move on, that's a great point, because, and we talked about this before the show. We could have actually did a pre-show, but we talked about it before the show. And my experience is, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Adam. My experience is when I'm at work, I'm in a professional environment, right? Mm-hmm. And I just can't contain myself. Like, this isn't just me on camera. Well, I'm not camera, but this isn't just me live on YouTube. Like, when I play a great game, I'm looking for the first person that I know plays games too. And I'm like, did you play Division 2 on Stadia? And so that reverberates through the office, and I used to get teased. Yeah, MM2K plays Call of Duty with the kids late at night, instead of taking care of stuff at home. So with that being said, I would run across other people our age that played games too, and they would come over here. What? I heard you were playing Division 2. What time you getting on tonight? You know what I mean? Yeah. So we're like a silent majority, right? I mean, is that something that you come across too, Adam?
Yeah. Funny enough, in my business community, I'm quite well known for the whole gaming thing. Yeah. I mean, I wrote articles before. I mean, a couple of years ago on cloud gaming being the future, way before Stadia was a known thing, before probably even Project Stream, actually. So that's always been something that I'm known for. And it's funny because I was in a meeting with a couple of lawyers. And one of them said, "Oh yeah, you're a big gamer." I said, "Yeah, I love a bit. Yeah, I'm on PlayStation. Oh, come and join the clan." Yeah, that night he was in the clan. It's like, we were in Destiny. Yeah, it's everywhere. But I think you were saying earlier, and then that it's, statistically, the average age is mid-30s now.
Absolutely. Yep.
I mean, to be fair, that may even have increased because, of course, that's a statistic that I was aware of a year or two ago.
And that's an average. So
that's an average.
All the kids that are 9, 10 playing Fortnite. Yeah. So you think about how old people have to be in order to get an average.
In order to flatten that out. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, no, the statistics are amazing. 50%, and it's a mixed gender, male, female. It really is a universal pastime, and that whole stigma. When we were younger, if you were into games in our 20s, you were, there was something wrong with you.
You were a loser.
Yeah, there was a definite issue there. Whereas that's gone. That's no longer a thing. So I think we will see a lot more people. I think maybe, to be fair, Clive and I are probably the upper end, in fairness, but I certainly people in 30s and up into 40s. It's not even it's what I do. I game.
You should check out Grandad Gamer or Grandad Streamer on Twitch.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, I've watched him. He so basically his family, his younger sort of family, his grandchildren gave him a gaming rig in his home. He's an ex sort of soldier. He's in his 70s or whatever, and he plays Apex Legends and stuff like that. Wow. and he gets well into it, and he's really good. Yeah.
It's amazing. And of course, they now, all the sort of medical. Will point to the fact that it's actually great for things like depression. On the one hand, it can, they say, oh, but you're locked away in your bedroom downstairs, but we know how social this is, right? Yeah. I mean, if you're playing any game these days,
that social, since things have gone online, since the multiplayer games is a thing, and we'll touch on it, I'm sure, earlier, but these people that say, yeah, but Stadia, you have to be online all the time. It's like, every game you really have to be online all the time. That's so crazy. People laughed at Xbox when they said, and you're gonna, 360, and you're gonna have to log in online. What? Hey, but you all do it now, every game. So, but the fact is, especially during this lockdown period, that social element is so important and so cool. And it wasn't there before. It was quite sort of insular and sort of silent. You say, people sort of playing in their basements, that kind of notion. But it's much more a casual thing now because people can meet up with their friends, form squads, clans, whatever, and just go off on various adventures. Yeah.
I find it. I find myself a lot more social. A lot more inclined to reach out and meet new people online. You know what I mean? There's a lot less angst, rather. You know what I mean? And I feel those that say, to Clive's point, Stadia's online all the time. To me, that sounds like complaining about the car over the horse and carriage because you got to put gas in the car. Everybody's putting gas in cars now. What the hell is the point?
And that's particularly important for you, obviously, MM, because as you can see, you're afflicted with a rotating GIF on your face. It's difficult for you to meet new people.
Meet new people. Meet other people. There's probably a community for GIF-faced people.
There is.
The GIF face.
I'm a Capricorn.
I suffer from the GIF face. There's a few other people. Yeah, and this helps me too because I have one of those positions that they own my soul. And I'm limited to what I can show of myself, but you got to put food on the table and you got to make sure the lights click on, right? So stuff like this helps, you know what I mean? So
not just that. And without blowing smoke up your anus, you are brilliant at it. So, it would be such a shame if you'd never come forth and do these shows.
My wife would say, it's better that the GIF is on. I got the GIF.
The gab.
The GIF is a lot better than the face. No, but it's not about me, guys. It's all about you because that's why everyone's here. And we got 32 people watching, and that's a lot for me. So if you guys can do a huge favor, and that's 32 people across Facebook and YouTube. So if you can't do a huge favor, please hit that like button. This is the type of stuff. These are the type of people that I like to highlight. Everybody that comes on the show I like to highlight, but the Generation X Gaming Club, stuff like that is dear to my heart. let's push. Let's give a big push to this. Please hit that like button, share this, and sub to. And then I put links to Stadia Rokks channel, Clive's channel, and Generation X Gaming Club out there too. Definitely go out there and sub to them. And I'm going to keep saying that throughout the show. With that being said, let's peer a little bit more into you guys' world, and I'll start with Adam. Mm-hmm. Now, Adam, you're known in the community for having such a keen business sense and a very gripping way of connecting business nuances to common folk. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the experiences that you have had that you can share with us that is attributed to this ability?
Oh, crikey. Well, firstly, thank you for saying that. I wasn't aware that it was a particular skill, but I guess if I mean, the thing with me, my background is that I come from a very working class background, you know, and I think I said, I may even have been on a show with you at one point where I said, you know, I mean, literally council estates in this country are like projects in the States. And that's pretty much where I come from. My dad was a bricklayer. My mum worked in Woolworths. And no, you know, both my mum and dad had 10 brothers and sisters. I mean, it was real, you know, banjo playing stuff. And the thing was that, you know, I knew nobody that went to university. I didn't know that it was a thing that you could do. So everything I've ever done has been hard, you know, the old school of hard knocks. And I guess as well, coming from that background, there's most of the people I knew weren't particularly well educated. So if I wanted to convey a thought, I had to do it in a way that they would understand. And I don't mean to sound patronizing when I say that. Yeah. And obviously, as I've gone on in business, and although selling's not a thing I particularly enjoy, it's a thing that you do, as you know, as you progress in business, you're essentially marketing and selling all the time. So a thing that I've always sort of prided myself on is being able to explain what is, for most of what we do, relatively technical. We develop software and apps and so on. So and a lot of our clients are not technicians, they're not software engineers, they're business people. You know, we sell to business people. So in explaining and understanding their requirements and then being able to talk to them about how we can solve it without necessarily talking technical, I guess that's where that comes from. And it's something I really love to do. I love to see people's eyes light up when they get it. You know, when you suddenly go, what I mean is this, and then they go, makes sense now. So it probably comes from there, mate, if I'm honest with you.
Good. No. And I have a problem with that because it'll take me 30 minutes to explain something in 2 minutes. So that's definitely a skill, you know, and and they're like, you know, come on, you know, they're hitting their wrist. Come on, time's up, buddy. You know, so that's a very important skill because sometimes you're lost in your thoughts. Yeah. Yeah,
it's a teaching skill. And I think, you know, and I've done guest teaching at college and university as a guest lecturer, simply because they've enjoyed the fact that that's what I do, that I go in as an everyman. I've not been through their world. I've not been through the educational world. And yet I've achieved something. And it kind of gives them hope that, you know, there are other ways of achieving this. I love to connect with kids on that level. Love it.
Yep. Good old fashioned elbow grease. All right, Clive, we don't leave you out of this because you're also known for your ability to connect to these more complex occurrences in gaming and connecting them to everyday thoughts and interactions as it relates to games. And you know how to connect, more importantly, to the everyday Joe Schmo. So you have an interesting background, my friend, that you tried to throw under the radar, you know what I mean, as it relates to games. And you shared some of this background on Stadia Super Saturday. And I was like, I got to get this guy on the show, definitely, so he can share some of that with us if he's willing to. Would you mind sharing some of that gaming background with us, my friend?
So, you know, I always see myself as a casual gamer, and to be in the last 5 years, I've sort of leaned towards sort of more the hardcore kind of gamer. But I still consider myself a casual gamer. I'm not into kind of really weird games or, you know, eccentric games. I like discovering new games and that kind of stuff, but I still like the popular games. So I come from it from a gaming point of view as a casual gamer, as a hobbyist, from that point of view. Games which are accessible, easy to play, fun to play, you know, and I sort of get in it from that point of view. But on the flip side, I worked in the gaming industry. So that's the key thing. So I used to work for Lego, specifically for Lego Media, who did the Lego games. And I was a business affairs guy there. I was the head of the business affairs there. So I did deals with the developers who made the games. I did deals with publishers. I did, so I did massive deal with, EA, I remember at the time. I got to travel. They sent me around the world. I used to go to E3 every year. I went to Japan. I talked to Sony, talked to Nintendo, went to Korea, all these different things in my capacity working for a company trying to sort of, and it was at the time Lego Games was in-house effectively. So we were a publisher. So they went on afterwards and licensed out that and gave it to
kind of like Disney does.
Traveler Tales. Yeah, exactly. Traveler Tales used to do the Disney games. But then Traveler Tales became the sort of publisher and acquired the license of the Lego games. But before that, so I used to work with the producers who would go and, say, I'd do the deal with the developer. And then the producer, in-house producer, would work with that developer to bring that game to life. There was a whole Q&A department. So they were all young lads who were like 17, 18 and just played games all day, testing out the alpha builds and stuff, and then reporting on the bugs and the errors. So I know how the gaming industry works. I'm in the entertainment. I'm still in television now, and most of my life I've been in the television industry doing the same sort of thing. So I understand the sort of behind the scenes, but I also consume it as a casual hobbyist. So when you link those two things together, I can see what the sort of behind the curtain they're trying to do, because I understand, it always follows a certain model, what they're trying to say, what they're trying to communicate, how the business model works. So I know what's behind the curtain, but I also enjoy sitting the other side of the curtain and watching the show. So that's how I see myself. I have the ability to sort of sit back and enjoy the show, but also I know what's going on behind the scenes. And if I can bring that and to relate it to everyday people, then, great.
Awesome.
Well, that made my story sound crap, didn't it? I come from a project. I've been on television.
And I wanted to go first because I was thinking I came from a grey background, I used to call it. Like I was neither rich and neither poor. The grey class.
Grey class.
Yeah, I do remember the Prime Minister we used to have, John Major. I just think I'm that class, like literally grey. My dad wanted to be more richer than he was, but he didn't want to be as poor as we were. I could say I'm not
James O'Brien.
Class. It was horrible.
No, both great. No, those are both great backgrounds and both great stories. Definitely, the chemistry is just great between you two. I love watching it. So let's kind of peer into your more of your gaming world, right? So I'm going to ask you guys 4 questions. If you guys could just rapid fire answer those. How long have you been gaming roughly? Give me your favorite game, favorite genre, favorite system, if you can remember those. Who wants to
go first? I'll go first. Okay. 42 years.
Okay, cool.
Destiny purely on the basis that I was saying this to Clive earlier. He couldn't believe it. 3,930 hours of Destiny I've played.
Wow. Yeah, I was there.
The hours, man.
I was there wedding.
It was favorite genre has to be that kind of MMORPG type stuff like Far Cry and I love those games. Favorite system, Stadia, but before that was PlayStation, I guess.
Oh, cool. All right, Clive, how about you? How long you been roughly gaming? I don't know if it's been 300 years like Adam here, but we're all old. I've been gaming for 30 plus years, so but
on and off for 20 years. But in the last 5 years, it's like I thought, you do. The last 5 years, I thought, no, I used to enjoy gaming. I've got nobody's. I can buy what I want, I do what I want. I've got nobody telling me I can't do anything. So I'm going, you know what? And I want to get the kids into gaming as well. So I said to them, right, we're getting into gaming straight straight to the Walmart, as it were, get an Xbox, get that down. And then since then, I've got an Xbox One S, an Xbox X, and we've got 2 in the house. And then, and I've just updated my gaming rig and all that kind of stuff. So it's sort of in the last 5 years, it's become a hobby. I say to the old GF, I say, people of my age, right, we're meant to be wearing Lycra and cycling everywhere, because that's what people of my age, that's their hobby. You just see them. One, I'd look terrible in Lycra. And
you look better than me, mate. I'm going to show you with that.
And they spend I've got people of my age or similar in their 40s and stuff who I'm going to be into cycling. I like the Tour de France, and they'll spend $3,000 on a bike, a carbon fiber bike or whatever like that. And I was thinking, well, what is my hobby? Because I don't want to do that. I'm not a cyclist. I don't want to do all that. And then I realized, what my hobby is? My hobby is playing games.
Awesome.
Game-wise. That's a toughie. That's like asking somebody what your favorite film is or something. It changes all the time.
Yeah.
So I sort of settled on 2, and I think I'm going to nominate one now, and I think it's going to be Mario 64.
Okay. Gotcha.
Just because it's so well balanced and constructed in terms of you learn without realizing, the complexity goes up, and it's just beautifully balanced. And then in terms of the games I like, then a bit like I like campaign, story campaign type games. I'm a massive fan of the Tomb Raiders. I think I said earlier about games you can pick up and play. You don't have to be like really intense into the gaming and understand and sort of, if I just do this bit or if I collect all these bits, you can do all that. But as a sort of a casual drop-in gamer, you can just play the story, get through the missions, get to the end, and you feel certain satisfaction. That mix of action, puzzle, platforming, it's so well done in the Tomb Raider games, and I just love them. So that's my sort of key genre. But I play a bit of PvP and stuff. But my son puts me to shame because my reactions are like slow motion. Like in Zootropolis, my actions are like the sloth. where it's like a fly. It's like a fly. He sort of sees 10 times before it's happened. So
I suck at PvP. I don't even try it. Like I want to play PubG
too.
Yeah. I've been ever since PubG dropped. I've been sending SOSs all over the Stadia community. No one's responded because they're thinking, if you can't play, then no.
Well, here we go. We've got a trio right here. All we need is a botmer away.
Hey, look, guys. I don't know if you want to take me up on my offer, but when I was addicted to Destiny. All right. Addicted to it. It got to a point to where my kids were like, "Hey, Dad, this is like low level child neglect here. Like, as soon as you come home, you're playing." So, but I had a group called the Old Dirty Blasters. So if you guys want to resurrect Dirty Blasters, we can do that, man.
Love it. Well, you see, my clan's called the Rock Stars.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But you're welcome to join. I went to invite Clive the other night because Clive's in the Division 2 Rockstars clan, which is one of those. There's 2 of those. There's one that's maxed on PlayStation and one that's got about, I don't know, what's it got, Clive? 12, 13 on Division Stadia. And but also we've got a Rockstars Destiny clan as well. And I've been waiting to see Clive come online so I can send him a clan request because you can't do it outside of the old.
I played a lot of Destiny recently because I got so my girlfriend she's not a gamer at all. Mm-hmm. So I gave her, she's never gamed, okay, apart from Candy Crush. That doesn't count, right?
Yeah.
So I gave her my Game Pass buddy.
Yeah.
And said, you play it. And it was like starting from scratch. So I'm going, learning how to use a controller. Like that thing when you've got a little child who's like 3 and 4, and you go, stop looking at, look up, no, look up, no, look back, no. The other stick, it was like that. This was back in December.
Yeah.
She's now on the same level as me in Destiny 2. And now I was saying to Adam, we're having this thing where I'll go on and she's a level up, and I'll go, wait a minute, you've been playing behind my back. So then when she's not on, I go in and make sure I go up a level.
Sneaky.
And then she, you've been playing behind my back. And that's
It's got it's a kind of relationship rivalry thing with me and Dad. I haven't played as much as I used to, I'll be honest with you. But what I've been doing with it, and not so much recently because we're all at home now, but before the lockdown, my daughter's a local university, and if she felt lonely at night, we'd fire up Destiny and play together. So until literally I'm going, so what do you think? Hello. Right, she's dropped off. There we go. Let's go. It was just a way of connecting. It allowed her to kind of chill out a bit, but it's just a lovely game. Did you prefer Destiny 1 or Destiny 2?
Destiny 1. There was so much, I was starting to become an old man shaking his fist at the window when Destiny 2 came out. Just a bunch of stuff I didn't like. So it's
quite hard to understand, really. And the story campaign seem all out of order, and you sort of no spoilers, but you sort of see a character and you go, I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, new light. Yeah, it does not work at all.
I was saying earlier about a good casual game takes you by the hand. Like people don't like games that they used to. Games have changed, a much more open world now, and that's fine. But I quite like the games on a rail that took you through the story.
You need guard. Look, we're older. We need guardrails. You know.
I'm just telling you about the Medal of Honor games, and it's just take you through the mission.
No, 100%. No, I think Destiny 1 reached perfection and then they stopped it. It was such a shame because when it ended, I still go into it now. I've still got it installed on the PlayStation. Love that. Love it.
It was a great game. Hopefully the franchise with its next iteration will get back to.
There was a big article from the creative director, I think last week, talking about how they're looking at it in the whole and the round and the plans they've got for the next iteration and where it's going to go. And they've taken on board some criticisms and all that kind of stuff. So it will be interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely. And hopefully, well, my kids are older now. Most of them are out the house. So, I can be a little neglectful now.
That's it.
I'm not getting in trouble for it. So let's talk specifically about Stadia, guys. All right.
Yeah.
So whoever takes a grab at this first. What led you to Stadia? Who wants to grab at that first?
All right. Okay. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I tried the Shadow PC. I just thought, what a brilliant concept, having a virtual computer and you just rent it and it's like super powerful. And I played some games on it and it looked really good, but there was some inconsistency in it. But I thought, wow, this is good. And then Xbox said, okay, we're going to do Project xCloud. So I jumped on the beta on that and I got into the trial early on. And I thought, wow, this is good. But clearly there is a slight lag. It's playable, but then when Google announced it, as I said earlier, I thought, if anybody can do it, they can do it. And then when they had their Connect sort of GDC Connect thing in March 19, I thought, I think they've been testing this now for a year sort of prior, and they wouldn't be saying the things they are if they weren't confident that it did the job. And I know there are a lot of doubters. It's impossible. You're going to there'll be too much lag and latency. Ridiculous. This was the sort of the perception beforehand. But I thought, no, I think they can do something that makes that perception of lag sort of disappear. I mean, clearly there's going to be some lag and latency, but the point is, does it feel like there's any? And as we all kind of will experience, no, there doesn't. So I was really excited about it. And when it came, I was like, wow, they've done it. This is it. This is the tech that is leading the way. All the other tech is, it's good, but I thought from a tech point of view, they've done it. And so that's why I was glad. I wanted to be a founder. I thought it's like making a bet, it's like going, if this goes big, which I'm sure it will, I want to be saying, I was a founder, man. I want the little stars and no numbers after my name.
Absolutely.
Yep. If it all went belly up, it wouldn't get it went belly up. But if it did, and it's Google, for goodness sake. Yeah. And I don't subscribe to this notion that Google will just kick it in because that's software they kick in. Yeah. The only exceptions may be glasses, but that's because they hadn't anticipated the kind of privacy issues, really on that. But other than that, it's like No, they're going in. They've already spent years working up to this point, which people don't understand, which is frustrating. And they've got big plans which are 5-10 years out. Mm-hmm. And plus, I've seen what happened. I've seen how working in the TV industry, I've seen how the television industry has been totally disrupted by VOD services, subscription services, like Netflix and stuff, in the last sort of 10 years or less, just radically changed an industry that's done the same thing in the same way for 70 years. And then somebody's come along, and now, as I say, working in the industry, we are at a genuine kind of, I'm trying to think of the word there, but a point where we're having kind of existential, we are at a genuine existential point in the industry where we're going, who are we and what do we need to do? Because people don't watch television anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing to bear in mind. Stadia and all the people who criticize cloud gaming, it's like, well, I've seen it in history, in recent history, in the last 15, 20 years, in different music industry, and now the television industry, and the inevitable follow along from that is the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Don't invest in Blockbuster right now. It's that's what we're saying. It's the same sort of thing. It's that Blockbuster Netflix.
Absolutely. It's something new. I do several podcasts, and the one I was on last night, people were asking me, and Adam, I'll let you follow up and try to tackle this, but people were asking me, well, what is so great about Stadia? And I said, well, look, right now, to place it on the plateau of a PlayStation or an Xbox, across the board for all gamers, may not be the right thing to do. It's still in its infancy stage. It's still 5-6 months out. Like, come on now. Let's do it. And then somebody responded, well, Xbox had Halo. And I'm like, but I understand. But see, that's a dedicated device. And Google right now is trying to collect data so they can get to that point to where they can hammer you with exclusive content. So this is kind of like a different type of rollout. But even though they're in the data collection phase, this is still giving you an experience with your favorite games that you just can't experience elsewhere, and that's special. And it'll become even more special and more widespread once they continue to add to that. But just what are your thoughts on what led you to Stadia and what makes you think that Stadia is such a great platform to behold?
So all of my businesses and pretty much all of my business career has been about seeing what's over the horizon and catering for it. So I set up the first web design agency, one of the first in the UK. In the early 90s. And don't forget, the World Wide Web only kicked in 1991.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. One of the first to do app development. One of the first to do low energy Bluetooth. There's lots of stuff that we've always done first. And as a gamer, and always wanting, as we all do, I think, but me particularly, always wanting the kind of the realism, kind of to feel like I'm in a movie, the quality of a movie, but having complete control over the narrative or the characters, which is for me the real nirvana of gaming. So, as I said earlier, a few years ago, it seemed obvious to me that it would have to move online. Most things at that point had turned into software as a service anyway, or working that way. And we were, virtual PCs, dumb consoles were a thing that had been trying to catch up for some time, but the infrastructure kind of hadn't been there. And then, so PlayStation brought PS Now out, and I thought, great, here we go. But it completely undershot. Very low quality. It's not even great today. And then there was this Google thing. And so I think someone actually said to me, have you seen that Google are bringing out a cloud gaming service? And I was like, where? Show me. And then I saw what they were bringing out. And quite literally, I think I had to change my tracksuit bottoms. It was impressive. So that was it. That was it. It's a lovely thought. But, it's going to come to you eventually, Clive. You're only a little bit younger than me.
Yeah, okay.
You're going to lose that muscle control too, my friend.
I look forward to that moment. Yeah, cheers.
That's when you do have to wear Lycra. Keeps everything.
Yeah, that's why they wear Lycra, man. It's nice and
that's
tight.
mainly why old fellas wear Lycra. So, That was
Makes sense
that,
now.
and the fact that everything just loses elasticity and just hangs there. You've seen, Dirty Grandpa or whatever it's called. But yeah, no, that was so that was it. That was the way forward, and I wanted to be a part of that. And my one massive regret is that I've never been in a business within gaming. I actually did work for games. I did actually design game graphics at one point, very, very early on. I'm talking pre-Amiga, and the packaging around the cassettes and stuff. I used to do that, and I worked for a game distributor, but nothing on Clive's scale and where I'd love to be. I mean, we've done apps and things that have a gaming aspect, and we've done some augmented reality stuff as well. But my one regret is that now I think it's too difficult to get into. But I would love to have done that.
See, guys, and I hope everyone is appreciating this. And we got 37 watching across Facebook and YouTube, so definitely hit that like button and share this out. This is a conversation. I hope you guys are entertained like I am. I'm like. These guys are just like they have me so entertained and so hyped right now. It's ridiculous. With that being said, I hope everybody understands the importance of what Stadia is doing, even though they're in their infancy stage. We talked about that, and I hope you guys are absorbing what Clive and Adam are sharing with you. Let me see. Do we have any comments? What I'm so entertained. I haven't done what I normally done, which is look in the comments for look at those comments like, screw you. I'm entertained, guys. So, let me see. I'm gonna just go to Bippity Bop real quick because we got a lot of ground to cover, and definitely we got a Q&A session, folks. So I'm not gonna forget about you. I promise. I'm so sorry. I'm just so giddy right now. Bippity Bop says I could see PubG dropping an exclusive mode on Stadia. 200 players with Stream Connect. What do you guys think about that?
It's Clive's game. I haven't played it.
Yeah, well, my initial thought was, we'd have an advantage over. But Division 2 has this sort of Stream Connect aspect to it, doesn't it? And obviously PC players don't. I think it would be quite interesting in. They should put that in the game because it's a sort of game that lends itself to it. I mean, it would give us a slight advantage over the kind of other console players. I just noted actually that it's just crossplay with console, which is quite interesting, as opposed to Division 2. Which is Division 2 is just crossplay with PC. So it's just it was just interesting that the two different approaches. And
then why it has that little game controller as an icon to indicate that they're on a console.
Yeah, so we get our little Super S, Stadia S, and they get a little. I think it also identifies whether it's I think the icon they're using, just to me, it looks like a Xbox controller. Yeah. I don't know whether there's a generic one, but yeah. But I could see that they could put that in just add it in as a feature.
I thought Charlotte.
They added in the skin, the
Stadia skin,
Stadia hoodie, and your Stadia parachute.
Charles, who I want to pronounce as Charles because of his surname, and I've always wanted to always do that. Charles says, I thought it was a really good thing here about was the deal with Stadia basically because it's a fantastic YouTube integration. I think that's a very good point.
It's true. Put that link up again because I saw something about PubG today because I read. So there was an article in Eurogamer or something like that, and it was an opinion piece.
One, I think.
Someone was saying, PubG's dead. Mm-hmm. Apparently, on the internet, everything's dead.
Exactly, we're dead.
PubG players are furious because they've added bots. Why on earth would they do that? It's a massive retro, and it's coincided with the release on Stadia. But somebody then said that PubG is far from dead. It's still, and it might have been on Twitter, but somebody in the community said that in terms of stream viewers, it still does massive numbers. Yeah. So people who watch.
I was having a fun back and forth, Clive, with somebody with the troll. And I'm immature, so I'll do that here and there. But yeah, they were like, PubG is dead, it's gone, it's in Pet Cemetery. You guys are trying to bring it back. I'm like, no, it's still one of the top 25 games streamed on Twitch watched on Twitch. It's in the top 20, and it's a top 25 game on console still, with around it peaks at 37,000 hours a day. 37,000 viewers a day. It'll peak at that number. That's astronomical for a game that old, with so much more out there that's even more pop. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and anecdotally, I did a test stream yesterday of PubG on YouTube. I sent my rig and stuff, and so a live stream of it. And I didn't tweet it or announce it, but I was getting not like massive numbers, but just like 20 or 30 people watching live. And I thought, I used to like stream on Mixer quite a lot, and I never had numbers like that. Playing like Sea of Thieves and stuff on the Mixer, but it was because it wasn't Stadia people that were necessarily coming. There was a handful of the Stadia regulars who kind of saw I was live on my Lord Kensal channel. But it was people who are, look, live PubG, streaming. So there is an audience there. So I think Charles makes a good point. I think they could do that. There is an appetite for watching people, as we've seen, because Dr. Disrespect still drops into PubG now and then. And you've got your other battle royales. They are popular games to watch. To watch people play them. So. Yeah, that's a good shout by Charles, I reckon.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
All right, guys. Let's do this. I'm gonna time warp ahead, use the flex time capacitor.
Hold on.
We need that line with the arrows in Division 2, don't we?
Look, I'm telling you guys, and I really hope, and I know people are probably getting nauseated when we say it. I'm enjoying just with the banter between you two and just listening to you guys. I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I hope the whole chat is feeling the same way. So maybe there's a couple more questions I wanted to ask in regards to Stadia's foundation, and hopefully if we got enough time, we'll get to them. But let's hop onto this news, because I know a lot of people want to hear you two's take on this Connect. This lousy Connect. I was told by somebody that this Connect was so tone deaf, but this lousy Connect. No, but the Stadia Connect that we were beholden upon on Tuesday. Just look, I got to take my lumps and bruises as they come. I thought this Connect was going to be a very light imprint, and just be a pretty much, hey, welcome new gamers. Yeah, exactly. And boy, was I wrong. Hopefully, I don't know. Was I the only one? What were you guys' prediction going into this thing before you saw what you saw? What did you think you were going to see here?
I didn't. To be fair, I didn't. I made several predictions which didn't come true. One which was that I thought that Get Packed was going to be the one of the free pro games this coming Friday, although it was released this week. And then I did a piece on Rock Around the Clock, which I didn't for 1 minute think it would happen, but I just said speculatively, you could imagine a world where Google went to Ubisoft and said, look, we'll actually pay 50% or whatever for Uplay Plus, just because we can instantly hit the pro deal guys with 120 games straight off the bat. And kind of argued it in a way that I think made sense. I now don't think that would have happened. It certainly didn't happen, and I don't think it's going to happen looking at the way things are progressing. But they're on track. I mean, it was a great reveal. And you know what I love about Google, and I've said this umpteen times with Chase, everybody's tries to second guess them and fails every time.
Every time.
Yeah. I think, we're very much sort of low to the ground in a bubble in this Stadia community. And so we kind of, we know all the technical bits to it and the features that are going to come and stuff. And so it's sort of, in a way, it's hard to get out of that and then just sort of say, okay, what message is Stadia Connect? What are they trying to relay? And I did, I hasten to say that the way beforehand, I think in one of my Monday night chats, mate, or even maybe on the Saturday thing, that Google's marketing is in two steps. Okay, so last year, the people they were talking to was the gaming industry, so developers, to say, look at our tech, look at what our tech is capable of doing. We'd like you to be on board. They were talking to sort of the hardcore people, the gaming press, proper, gaming press. So opinion leaders from that point of view, and early adopters. So that's why they talked about the tech side of it. Yeah. They weren't talking to the mass consumer. Now, obviously the mass consumer watches that, picks up on that and runs with it. And, it's going to have all these things and it'll be amazing. But it was really a pitch to the early adopters and the gaming, the gaming business, the developers, to say, look, this is a new platform, and it can, if you're going to develop directly for this platform, it can achieve all these amazing things. These tools are here for you to do all these amazing things, and these are the plans that we have. Yeah. Okay. Now you can judge, and I'm sure we'll come to this, but you can judge to how successful that was or not. This one is step 2 in the marketing. Okay, you've done the early adopters, you've done the industry. Now it's the mass consumer. And what's the mass consumer want? I say, well, we're going to bring a new games console to market. People go, has it got FIFA? Has it got Madden? Has it got a battle royale on it? That's all. That's the mainstream gamer, the mass market. So they've made it free to available. So free to everybody. And sure, it's got a nice variety of games, but people want a battle royale. They want to know that some like Jedi, Star Wars and the big games are coming to it. And they definitely want to know that there's going to be FIFA or if you're in America, Madden coming to it. And so this Connect was very much aimed at making the message absolutely clear to the mass consumer. Okay. And that's what Phil Harrison said right at the beginning about the Stadia. There's 2 ways to play. Stadia Pro, you get a load of free games. Or if not, just buy a game, you play it for Stadia, and you don't pay anything. That's it. No, yeah. And all their marketing the last few days since there have just been play where you want, no downloads, just simple, clean messaging. And here are the big games that we're going to bring to, that everybody's been talking about. The tent pole games, the FIFA and the Madden are such massive games. You talk to anybody who's vaguely proper casual. I mean, I don't have FIFA, but like a casual game, it's like, you've got FIFA, mate. You've got FIFA, especially this part of the world. You got FIFA. All the footballers play FIFA. It's such a massive game. And I know it's, Madden is the same thing. It's an annual event that comes out, when the game is launched. So I think that this Connect was perfectly pitched in terms of, it was more, less about the early adopters. They proved the technology works, and now about building on that by filling out the library with the big name titles, the blockbuster titles. That you just like the movies. We've got all the indie movies and the old movies and the retro movies. Now it's the big blockbuster movies that are coming to this platform, and everybody can play, and that's the message. It's the gaming for the masses, as it were, with the games that non-gamers are aware of, and that's the key thing. So I think, and I like the way that they did it as well. It's like within the first 30 seconds, it was like, oh yeah, PubG, by the way. Yeah. And then the other beauty is it's like available now. Not available now. Go and get it. Download it. Go and get a cup of tea.
Press the button under the video and get it.
Yeah.
Literally click. Somebody posted to me, they're saying I clicked it and I was playing a game within 3 minutes. I felt like tweeting back to him and go, 3 minutes?
Yeah.
In a cup of tea before you went, because literally
about a fag in that time.
Literally, that's the crazy thing. And I like the fact that they put that link in there, because that also doubles as a demonstration of how easy it is. Because if you already got Stadia, it took you straight to the game. If you don't have Stadia, it takes you straight up to the sign-up page.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
And even if you sign up, it takes longer to sign up than it is to actually get in the game.
To actually play a game.
That's the crazy thing.
I'll tell you how effective this Connect was, right? In fact, the last couple of weeks. So if you went on YouTube a month ago, you'd have this.
Yeah.
You look on YouTube this week, it's...
Yeah, exactly.
I just literally did a filter and I said, just show me all the videos for just the word Stadia in the last month. And I cannot find a negative. In fact, the worst one was Stadia is actually quite good.
Yeah, absolutely.
You kill me with your faint praise.
You've seen like IGN and different people just sort of go back and reassess.
Yeah,
because they don't want on their record that,
yes,
that it's crap.
Yeah.
And that's it. And they've never readdressed that, because clearly Stadia has been on a journey. Yeah, as people have come around to it, and then all the arguments against it that people say, "Oh, it's no games." It's a game. There's loads of lag latency. Try it yourself.
Yeah.
You don't own your own game. You know, it's like, get out of here.
I mean, we talk about Google, and we use the terms Google and Stadia, and they are objective, and you know we see them as boxes. But you know what we fail to forget is that right under that surface are human beings with feelings, and if it's the one thing that I felt this week, it's that there's a feeling of vindication now. They're starting to feel, you know, people are now getting our where our journey has been on and what we've been trying to achieve. They're starting to see that now, and they're feeling like, at last, you know, this is the hating is dying down. There's positivity rising. People are seeing where we're trying to get to with Stadia, which is in line with, you know, what myself and you, MM2, and you, Clive, and others have been saying. You know, it's finally coming to fruition, and you can sense. I get a positive feeling out of the people from Stadia that they're finally feeling like at last we're vindicated.
I think they've always been on this trajectory. They're not like making this.
No, I agree. This for 10 years.
Praying for them to sort of say, will everybody just calm down a minute? It's all going to come good.
Yeah,
it's all a part of the plans, but softly catchy monkey. You know, it's like slowly. We know what we're doing, but like we're so eager, like news, some new game. You know, we want everything now. We want it. It's not working. We hate it. It's like, trust me, this is 5 months. We've said it all before. This virtual console, this console is 5 months old. It's 5 months. It's only in 14 countries.
It's like phoning NASA in 1966 and saying, "Have you landed on the moon yet?"
I talked to a lot of people.
Talking 10 years, he said, to the end of this decade, we'll go to the moon. Nowadays, in the 21st century, if you said we're going to go to the moon, people go, "When you lied? It's Wednesday. You're not on the moon."
Who do you think you are?
I talked to a lot of people behind the scenes, and a lot of people that just like to trash Stadia because it's the quote unquote fun thing to do, right? It's the beat up mattress that you get to jump on in the back of the yard, right? So with that being said, a lot of them. I think what you see from a lot of these publications, and tell me what you guys think about this. What you see from a lot of these publications is, look, it's a slow month. The only people that are making headlines are Xbox and PlayStation, and Xbox is dropping some stuff. But how many times can we talk about bibawatts and gigahertz? PlayStation is saying nothing. There goes that Stadia over there, and there's nothing that unites our community more than hating on Stadia. And I don't think they look past the 5 minutes of now to say, well, what if this thing does great? What if this thing does great? They didn't look past it. They looked at, they sit there, they have their board meetings. You know, what are our attachment rates? What are our, I forget, the term slips me, but how many times have people clicked on our stuff? All right, we got to do better. What can get us better? Hate on Stadia. And now they backed themselves into a corner to where it first started with the NASDAQ article. I think when NASDAQ did it, it was kind of like, you know, people were looking nervous, like, oh, what's going on here? Then you saw Digital Foundry, right? You know, Digital Foundry has wide-reaching ramifications where they said, oh, my God, they did a backtrack. Now IGN is doing a backtrack. Now to like what Adam was saying, now you got YouTubers who turn their frown upside down, and now they're holding the controller up and, you know, looking like they came across the pot of gold. But at the end of the day, do you think that these publications can redeem themselves from this, or do you think that what they were saying earlier will always be a stain on how they looked at the platform?
Yeah, I think it always looks like a bigger stain to us because we're like, you know, reading all this stuff. Like, but if you've ever been involved in any kind of press story, and then or you know of it, the background, and you read it, and you think, oh my God, this is so wrong. This is wrong, incorrect. There's so many inaccuracies, and then you think, well, actually, wait a minute. This is probably reflective. Once it happens a couple of times, if you've like, you know, in the entertainment industry, I know some sort of background stuff. And then when you read stuff in the paper and you think, that's not right. That's incorrect. And then you realize, wow, this is just going to be, this sort of approach to journalism is just replicated. Yeah. But because journalists, they ask the question, but they don't listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're reading, okay, what's my next question? So what they're listening for is blah 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 blah. It's got 4K. You'll have 4K, okay? Blah blah blah. blah. Oh, right. And then they publish that, right? Apparently, they're just looking for the soundbite because we live in a soundbite age. And then when you read the article, you completely misread it. I mean, like knowing what I know about Stadia, just from being a Stadia owner and following all us content creators and reading stuff about it. When I read some stuff in the press, every article I ever read, there's like a fundamental error in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
In order to have Stadia, it costs you £130. And it's like,
yeah.
No, it doesn't, mate. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's so great, it's £8.99 a month. And, whatever it is, like, that's that tier, but it's just like, this is just basics.
Exactly.
Yeah? Go to the website. The FAQs are all there. like if you're a journalist, it couldn't be easy. All the facts are presented to you on FAQs or on the front page of the Stadia website. You know what I mean? It just there's no excuse. And then the other stories that you read are just people, as you said, looking for clicks and stuff like that, and perpetuating sort of other bad news stories about Stadia, and not based on research, but just replicating them, going, oh, apparently they said that classic. Oh, I heard everybody's saying. I was always amazed. My daughter says that. I just hope she's not listening. What she'll she's like, everybody says. Okay. Who is everybody? Yeah. I want a source, and they go, well, I read it in the Daily Mail, which is a tabloid here, and you go, I rest my case. It's like, I read it in the National Enquirer. It's like, I rest my case.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on that, Adam? Do you think there's a redeeming factor that these guys can reach, or not?
I do feel for the press, and I'm not being sarcastic here. I mean, they're not the. There are very, very few very good investigative journalists left now.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Sadly, that stuff doesn't sell.
Yes.
So, the press is in a corner. And so they really don't have a lot of choice, even if they're writing stuff and they know it's not the angle they want to take. They don't have a huge amount of choice if that's the zeitgeist of the time. This is what we have to write because this is what gets the clicks, and I'm paid for the clicks. Otherwise, I'm out my ear. So I know that's not what we say in the heat of the moment when we see that stuff. And I typically look at I get a lot of feeds come through, as you can imagine. And I'll go and read the articles, and if they're wrong, like Clive's the same, you can't help it. You leave comments and try and change things.
Exactly.
A whole essay.
We do it all the time
because I don't want to get. I don't want to get in an argument, and it's not even worth it.
No, it's not.
I
just look at them and I think, like, you're doing your job. I don't agree with it. As Clive says, when you know anything about something, if you read about it or watch it on television, you come away thinking you knew nothing. And, and you feel sorry for the fact that that's the average person's take up of whatever it is that we know a little bit about. But that is the world we're in.
It's frustrating, though, isn't it? Read that stuff. It's just like,
we don't need to worry anymore because they are coming good. They are coming good. I mean, I think all of us, if anything, we're all feeling really hyped and pumped because there's nothing nicer than backing the right horse. But the moment before the race, you have second thoughts and think, have I done the right thing?
Yeah, all these people who go, I bought the Founders Edition and then I have read all this bad press about it, so I cancelled my order. I just think, what? Yeah. What, you didn't even try it?
Yeah, you didn't try it. Yeah.
You could have sent it back after you'd got it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you sent it back based on some pre-release press, press about it before it was even, it's like, to me, it's like, well, you don't deserve to be a founder, so get out of it.
It's all for someone else's emotions. But I do want to bring up something that our good friend 6'4", also known as Freeform Gaming, brought up. It's just second nature as humans, as like, I don't want to be suckered. So, we're, instead of wanting to do our own due diligence and find something out for ourselves, we go listen to Joe Schmo, YouTuber, and I'm with you because I'm not going to be suckered when you're actually being suckered into following for their emotions. It reminds me of something else that happened in a podcast I was doing last night where people were hammering me with inaccuracies about Stadia on the panel. And it as a Stadia fan or enthusiast, you kind of get worn out by them. You're like Adam said and Clive said, it gets to a point to where like, oh, just do your thing. Like, I don't even want to see this article. I don't want to do it. And it got to the point on the panel where I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to debate you. The thing is free. Everything that you're saying is so wrong. Go try it. And it was silence because they're like, no, I want to argue with you with my emotion, but I don't want to try this thing. And it's to the point to where I think this is great messaging for everybody. Looked at, and we're in phase 2 now. I understand in phase 1, we were out there going against every single YouTuber and saying, you know, you're wrong. But we're in phase 2 now. And I think in phase 2, it's more important to follow what these guys are saying right now. Don't play whack-a-mole with every negative comment because your arms are going to fall off. Mm-hmm. It gets to the point to where you just say, I understand the rhetoric, but try it free for yourself or show proof to the contrary. Big ups to Project Storm. He has an excellent PubG video that's in the thousands now, and it's not customary of his channel. You know, he still has he deserves it, but it's a great channel, but it's not customary of his channel because it looks so much better than console. So I think to hammer in you guys' point, I think we got to kind of mature a little bit to where we don't play whack-a-mole to every comment. Just put out true information to the contrary, right? So
the beauty is now, of course, is the fact as soon as Stadia made it available, like effectively free to everybody, 2 months as well, so a whole free, so a whole shed load of games to try. It's like literally that is the counter argument to everything. When you've got a product that's actually really good, the best way to sell it is just to make it available for people to try it. Mm-hmm. If your product's not good, that's the last thing you want to do.
Exactly.
If your product is genuinely groundbreaking and good, you could just say, tell you what, I don't have to really sell it to you. Try it.
And Clive, can I add to that? And then I want Adam to. I want Adam to chime in on this too. I could add, even if people have negative experiences. I was just having a conversation with somebody today. Like you guys just don't imagine how many people I get. But I get so much that in my DM. You like Stadia, but. I need to get that on a damn t-shirt. With that being said, somebody came to me with one of those, and I said, what you got to understand is that if Stadia didn't feel like they had something powerful in their hands, they're very self-aware. They wouldn't put it out there. But for those that do have a subpar or a bad experience, they want to see those too. Why? Because they get to collect that data, go back to the drawing board, and then in a week or so, or maybe a month or so, make it good for them. I can tell you endless situations where at launch, a game was running great for me, but in 2 or 3 days, it was like fantastic. And that's the wonder of cloud gaming. Adam, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Funny enough, I've got a little story because for the last 3 or 4 days, I've got essentially where I am here, which is our half converted garage, and it's an office. And I've got I don't know, whatever it is, a 50-odd inch TV over here with Stadia on. And I've got the one in the lounge with Stadia on. And I've been trying to play Guilt and Breakpoint out here. And it's been all over the place. And yet it's been fine in there. And I brought different controllers in and tried it and stuff. And I've rebooted the router and I've done everything. And it's been baffling the heck out of me. Now, anybody else would have gone straight on Twitter and gone, it's rubbish, Guilt's awful, it's terrible, it doesn't work. Do you know what it was? Weird. It was an HDMI splitter. It was basically saying to the television it was a 4K signal, but because it's only 1080p out of the splitter, the server was sending the signal for the 1080p. The TV was converting it to 4K, and the thing was all over the place. So it was me. That was the issue. I was my dodgy splitter thing. And this is half the problem. There's so many moving parts in something that's actually quite simple. And yet a lot of those really come down to how people have it configured in their own home. So, if you don't have your router set up, I was saying this to my daughter earlier, funnily enough, or my wife, one of the three. I was basically saying, the problem is that a lot of people just put the box in the corner and that's the router and it just takes care of itself. And of course, we know, because we're a little bit more techie, that you very often have to optimize it or reboot it or do stuff. And if you don't do that, you're not necessarily going to get the best experience. So for me, what I would have liked to have seen if I have one piece of advice that I've always wished I could have seen, was that there was a kind of more of a how-to hand-holding experience when setting this up.
Yeah.
So, a tool that actually said, oh, we can tell from your, that you're using Wi-Fi, or we can tell that you're not, or you're using Ethernet. And actually what you probably want to do is this, and this, and that will get you the optimum, change your television to game, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think they do enough of that. And I think to make it truly universal and work for people that are more techie or less techie, than we are, they kind of need to introduce a bit more of that, because underneath it, once you've got it all working, it's
true about often, how it's the consumer, not the product. And it's so true of Stadia. I saw a minor celeb on Twitter, and he reached out to Google saying, "Oh, you said I could make this available to my family. How do I do it? I seem to be going in circles." And I thought, well, I've done that on Family Share because it's not available yet. And I kind of know that. But then I kind of looked about it and I thought, no, they didn't say, they said, you can now share Stadia with your friends and family. Right? So I just tweeted the guy and I said, mate, it's not difficult. You just sign up an account. That's what they mean. They don't mean like Family Share, because that's not their. I didn't want to go into much detail with him because he was newbie. And they'd responded to him because he was sort of a minor celeb and has 100,000 followers. So they would just reach out to us, tell us, DM us, and we'll try and sort you out. That's what the Google Stadia were doing. But it just made me realize, I thought it's the consumer in some places.
It is.
Although arguably, if you've got a product, you should make it easy. But the point is, he thought he'd obviously gone down the route of looking at Family Share, which doesn't exist, because they said, share this now with your friends and family in the marketing. And that literally means send this link so they can sign up a Gmail. I said to him, all you got to do is just sign up with a separate Gmail account.
But to be fair, I mean, people like Apple get this, and if you're in my field where we do a lot of UI UX stuff, you've got to constantly think about lowest common denominator. So you can't as much as we are all, even in the lowest level, we're quite tech savvy. You have to think about, but what's the lowest thing? I'm always saying to my guys, and you get that, but just think about the user case. You've got a guy who's in his 60s and it's got to work for him, and he's not used to the kind of metaphor of the different, the different functions that you're used to. For a lot of people, scrolling is a weird thing. Most people don't ever go below the screen that they're on. Yeah. So you've got to think about those people. Some
person who'd say, I can't play Guild. There's no play button. And they're confused for ages. And then she said she was playing on the app. I was watching this Twitter thing, and I said, "Should be able to play. It's available now. I don't know what your problem is." Yeah. And then she goes, "Oh, I realised there's a scroll thing. And then I have to scroll down to the button and then press play." And you just think, Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to do it. You have to think.
3 days going round and round for her to realise this.
And to be fair, I never blame the consumer. I mean, it's not their job to make themselves think right. It's our job designing systems like this, because there's a great book by a guy called Steve Krug in web design called Don't Make Me Think. And essentially that's it. You cannot let just assume they can't assume the absolute lowest. And if it works for them, it'll work for everybody.
Or for everybody. Absolutely. No, totally agree. Digital Foundry hinted to that too. And I'll say this before we move on. And those are excellent, great. Those are great. Those are both great, excellent points.
He's excellent. I'm great.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Thank you, Adam. That's what I meant. Those are excellent, great points. And the reason being is that Digital Foundry hinted to this, right? They said, well, we're doing a retest because we found out that our situation, our setup wasn't ideal as we thought it was, and there's a little bit more tinkering that you got to do, and it wasn't easy for us to detect with Stadia. Now, I will say that they are correct. Well, I'll flip it. I'll say it like this. I would expect a Digital Foundry with their expertise to be able to peer behind the layers more and check that stuff out. But they are onto something. If you are looking at it from a less than a more technically enhanced state of a Digital Foundry, it can be cumbersome to go to your router, do this and do that, and check the HDR off this, and then go to the Google Home. app and do all that. So it's indicative of Google, I think, in the long term, to actually come up with tools that are a lot more easier to troubleshoot this type of stuff. So
Yes.
I do agree, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
all right. With that said, hey, let's talk a little bit more in detail of this Connect, right? So here goes the game. I'm gonna run through these games real quick, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on them. So this is from what I have, what they showed at the Connect. They had Crata first on Stadia. And this is kind of like the Minecraft looking game, if I'm not incorrect. So that looked promising to a lot of people. Of course, we got Get Packed. We got Wave Break first on Stadia, an arcade skateboard game. We had Ember first on Stadia and PC early access, begins May 21st. A firefighting game. We got Rock of Ages 3, which a lot of people should be familiar with. Get to be a giant rock and bowl your enemies over in a tower defense title. And then when we get to some of the more noteworthy titles, we got Zombie of Army 4, Dead War, free with Stadia Pro come tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm on that straight away.
Oh my gosh. Octopath Traveler, which is already released, and it's going to cause me to get beat up by my wife for stealing $60 off her credit card. Jedi Fallen Order, it's coming in winter, and PubG, which was also available for free for those Stadia Pro members come April 28th. So my question to you guys, whoever want to take it, or better yet, Clive, why don't you take this first? What are 2 or the 3 of those games that I just mentioned that you were in high anticipation of, or you're enjoying the most right now?
Okay, well, so it's good to see PubG on there. It's for sure. I played a lot of it on Xbox One. For Xbox One X and stuff, but and it was quite, I don't know, it felt quite sluggish when you play something like Apex Legend. I mean, it's an old game, it's creaking, and it was never designed as by a game developer from the ground up. It was designed by somebody who was like modding an existing game and then sort of built on that. So it was never built on the best foundations, but the concept was good, the idea was good, but in an ideal world, you would have started again and you basically do what Apex Legends did, look around at all the good things, what can they bring to the game, and create a fast flowing, battle royale. And that's really cool. But it's good to see, it is a popular game. And the great thing is it plays so much better on Stadia than it did on Xbox One. And one of the key things is the draw distances. And the thing about PubG, it's about hiding and sniping people from a long way away. I mean, there's some, face-to-face action, but a lot of it, you get shot in the head and it's game over. And in order to do that successfully, you need a pretty good, decent, powerful computer to be able to get those draw distances so you can see those tiny specks in the distance or people moving, or just be aware that the better definition. And you get that with PubG, and I believe it's in 60 frames a second, and as we know with Stadia things, the frame rates are fairly tightly locked, which is really cool and really smooth. And then the other one is, Zombie Army 4 just looks my cup of tea. A good story campaign, some co-op stuff going on as well. So yeah, I'm hyped for those 2.
Awesome. Real quick before Adam gives his piece. I can't find it. I'm gonna try to refresh. So what you're looking at on the screen, guys, for those that are watching live or maybe listening to this via YouTube but not watching, this is an article that I did on Broadband Bullies website. Definitely check out broadbandbullies.com if you want to see a wide depth of the latest gaming news. I talk about the Stadia Connect and my, I try to keep it. I don't want to say lukewarm, but I just wanted to keep it grounded, and I said that its title, Stadia's Connect initial reaction is positive, and I think that's more than fair to say so, right? I can't get the article back up, but let me see if I do this. Nah, that's not going to work. Darn it! There is a Stadia advertisement on the website, and what it had, which was real cute, was it scratched out like verbiage they were using before. And I couldn't see what it was scratched out. And then they go into their new talking points, which is, we talked about this earlier, guys. If you got 2 options, play games for free or, buy the games that you want to play, that aren't for free. And I think this is clever. This is a rebranding of what may have thrown them off key with the messaging before. And I think this is only going to lead to better tracking ongoing. But Adam.
Yeah.
I
saw it just now when you were looking at that page.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it.
It was, and I thought exactly the same as you did. I thought that is exactly what they should have. I mean, both Clive and I were saying this the other night. They don't, and they know it. They absolutely know it. They're not interested in I think they in themselves felt that's really held them back. I mean, Clive said it earlier, and it's something I've always thought as well. The last year was about getting the developers on board, getting the studios on board, talking to the professionals, and we all kind of hooked into the bits that they were talking on a technical level. And I know that Google have no, you're totally missing our story here. And I think that's what I'm saying. They feel this massive exhalation of air. It's like, at last, we can now start telling you our real story. And I'm so excited for them for that, because knowing what it's like when you've got something in gestation for so long, you're building something for so long, and then finally, and obviously Clive as well, finally you release it to the world, and people start to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely.
Do you know what? That every single game that's mentioned there, with the exception of Jedi, and that's only because I've played it and completed it, and I loved it. But I mean, all of those, I'm really looking forward to Crater. I think Crater is going to be a real sort of sleeping giant. I think that's going to be something very special.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you realized it, but when Clive and I and Stadia Mania Lee were doing our review of the Connect the other day, we had a look at the website for these guys, and there's a news item that says they were a maker. They were a Google Stadia maker, and they got a $5 million grant, I guess, loan. I'm not sure how it works. Anyway, they got $5 million to invest in this game. Yeah, investment.
Oh, wow. Hold on. No. That's not true. That can't be true, Adam, because according to Business Insider, Google's not giving anybody any money, right?
That was exactly what I said, my friend. Exactly what I said.
Statement. They're not giving any developers they're not helping small developers. If your ideas are no good.
Yes.
But if you've got good ideas or good stories to tell, they're clearly going to invest in you.
And the interesting thing as well, that article was actually published in October last year, before Stadia even launched. And we all said, why didn't we see this before? Exactly. $5 million that went into that game. And you can only imagine how many other developers. I think people like Getpack, for example, that was the first instance that I've seen any of these guys actually publicly say how much they've been helped by the company that doesn't help independent developers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sad to see it, but that one I think is going to be amazing. Rock of Ages, I'm really looking forward to. But it's not just Zombie Army tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to. It's also Kona and what's the other one that's coming out tomorrow? Is it the Turing? Is Turing
project?
There's a couple, aren't there? So there's some great games coming up.
I was particularly interested as well the fact that this is the first. So the announcement of FIFA and Madden, they announced that Jedi Fallen. Yeah. I'm looking forward to June, because these are just the first of what will be many EA titles, and EA don't do small titles. So whatever the other titles are, you can guarantee they're blockbusters. EA don't do little games, full stop. So we know in June, and then you're going to have the other publishers as well. So I'm looking forward to, I know you don't want to get too far ahead, but I'm looking forward to the June announcement, because clearly we're going to start seeing a snowball of big game announcements. As I said before, the cycle of new games being published across the consoles, one of which, of course, is Stadia, becomes a regular thing. All the big games. We're just getting to that stage now. But from about September onwards, you'll start seeing, available for PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox, Stadia, on all the big games as a regular thing. It won't be like, oh, that's a nice surprise. It'll be, no, it's the new normal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let me see here. So and Clive just did the precursor to this. Why I think this is important, and you guys let me know what you think about this. why I think this was important is because this wasn't their showcase. This was the introductory showcase.
Yeah.
The new gamers, right? And of course, you know, a lot of tasty breadcrumbs for us, those that have been there since day one, right? That being said, there's going to be a show in the summer where they're really going. It's supposed to be. Well, let me say it like this: there's going to be a show in the summer. How effective of a precursor do you think this show was in lieu of that show in the summer, if that makes sense? And B, does the next one need to be bigger than what we saw on Tuesday, and how much so? Who wants to tackle that first?
Go on, Clive.
Okay, so yes, I think so Xbox have just announced. So I also we talked about previously. I'm going to go about Xbox here, but they announced they're going to make 2 big virtual sort of Connect presentation things. Okay, one in May and one in June. And they, I think, today sent out their sort of Twitter invites. Come and see what we've got to show you about our games. For May. So Xbox, and we know Xbox are going massive on look at our amazing games that we've got coming. So we know we're in that season now, and I think that this absolutely was a precursor. It was about saying, here is our simple message. This is how you can play Stadia. 2 ways. Simple. That's it. There's games on there already, but we know you want to know, you want some big games. So just so you know, FIFA, Madden is coming. PubG, so that's the announcement. EA, that is massive. EA are now going to start publishing games on the Stadia platform. That was basically that message. And as an example, here are 3 that are coming, and plus guarantee of 5. We'll announce the rest in June. So we know that there's going to be, and as I said, EA don't do small games. We know they're going to be big games. So yeah, this Connect was very much this is how this is our marketing message. This is how you play. Here's some games that you want as well are coming to it. Go off and play and try it. See how you feel. June will be, here are even more blockbusters, big games that, now you're into the ecosystem. Now you're playing on Stadia. We're going to reward you with the big games. And I think June will be bigger because there'll be other publishers. There'll be the EA games that they haven't talked about, which I've said before, we know are going to be big because EA don't do small games. And there'll be other publishers because where EA goes, other publishers want to go as well. And then we still haven't got the Uplay thing from Ubisoft as well. So it's only going to be more games, lots of it.
Your thoughts on that, Rock?
Yeah, I think 2 things. Firstly, it's great that they've told us that there will be another one in a couple of months. So they're now saying, we're now into our. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. For me, the minute they launched Stadia free was the point where their marketing kicks in proper, and we've seen it this week. So, and you've just spotted it with the advert there in that page, and we're seeing it everywhere with the video and so on. It is absolutely on message for them now. So then, we've been feeling a little bit sore as founders because for quite some time it felt like there was tumbleweeds and not a great deal of stuff, but it was all part of the process. And you rightly said this, Clive, earlier. We just had to say, come on, just calm down. Hold steady, boys. Hold steady. So we're now in that we're now in that phase.
We're in the season of announcements. That's the key thing. And now they've legitimately said we are a legitimate console for the mass market. And as we come into the season of game announcements,
we're in it.
Page is going to be
Yeah, so I think I don't know. I don't want to say that each one's going to get bigger and bigger than the last one because that becomes an impossibility eventually. But and it will also. I think we can almost guarantee that the next one's going to be as spectacular because, as Clive rightly says, it's kind of the season. It's when E3 is typically on, Gamescom and others. So and those shows aren't going ahead. So that we're bound to see some stuff in there. I do think, though, that between now and then, before the next Connect, there'll be a lot of stuff that bubbles to the top, a lot, particularly around the feature set. My gut feeling is Connect will always be about the games. And I think too. Yeah, the feature set stuff's going to be at a more iterative rollout process.
Like the Home Assistant or the Google Home Assistant. It's just like, oh, they've rolled out new voices. Oh, they've rolled out this. Or now you can have continuous conversation. It just,
So I think we'll see a lot of that coming up. But the next one beyond that, I don't think that will be as big. Because that isn't the time you typically announce a lot of new stuff coming up. You're at that point of rolling it out. That's kind of right. Here we got 2 weeks time. We got a big game coming and so on. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if moving forward, this one and the next one are the two big ones of the year in most years.
The E3 replacement, effectively, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So everybody, like I said, Xbox have got one in May, possibly in June. So the E3, Nintendo will have their kind of piece just in June probably as well. So we're in that big thing. So that's when you make the big announcements. So I think, absolutely. The one in June is going to be big, but after that, because it's an E3 type thing, but after that, they'll just be, they won't be so significant.
And I wouldn't be surprised moving forward. Sorry, very quickly. I wouldn't be surprised moving forward if all the big game shows. I mean, a lot of the reason why those things exist is purely for the guys behind the scenes to do deals, to buy their the guy that they're trying to do a deal with, a meal or what have you. And so now that they know that they can actually be just as successful, but a hell of a lot cheaper putting them online, I suspect we'll see there'll be smaller shows. They still exist, but there'll be the deal making shows. They'll be for the industry versus so much about announcements to the public.
E3 was used to be about presenting. When I used to go, obviously about presenting the big games that were coming, but also the various distributors and sub distributors of the world used to go there to do deals to get to get the licensing rights for their distribution rights for their particular territories or their countries. To say, oh, well, we want to publish in our country, and that's what all the meetings were about. That's not necessary now.
Because you don't need a
distributor or sub-distributor. It's online. So now it's about announcements, and Xbox know that, and they all sort of, it's all about the games really. And then obviously they got a console launch, but it's about the games. They know also the consumers watch these things now rather than an industry thing. I mean, public weren't allowed in E3 when I went there. It was just
that's true.
Business.
Awesome. So there's three more before we get to Q&A. There's three more game stories that I wanted to get you guys on. Two more recent. One, I don't want to say it's dated, but because I have you guys here and I'm so giddy and excited, I got to get your take on this one particular one. So first, I want to talk about. Now I know I'm going to butcher this, so bear with me. Is it Project Chimera?
Yeah,
Project
that works.
Okay,
Chimera.
Project Chimera. Let's see here. Let me do this real quick, guys. Share my screen like so. No, that doesn't work. That works. All right. So this is courtesy of Stadia Source, the number one source for all Stadia news. All right. But they also got Stay Home, Play Stadia, Save Lives. That's awesome.
Yeah. And they've got a really good web host as well, these guys.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. It's man, it is awesome. It is awesome. Project Chimera, Google's next big thing, is the story, and it's written by Adam Eccleston. 4 days ago, Google is hoping to make massive games with minimum developers in the help of machine learning. And this is just a quote from the article talking about Project Chimera. We've been talking externally to developers and asking them, what are the things that you've always wanted to do but have not been able to do? What are the things that you've had to cut out of your games because you haven't been able to do them fast enough, or you just haven't had the processing power? What if a team of 14 people could make a game the scale of World of Warcraft? So I defer to you first, Adam. What the hell are they talking about? Making Worldcraft out of 14 people. What is this Project Chimera of Google's all about?
It's magic up in that castle, Frankenstein. So basically machine learning is essentially where software engineers write algorithms to train software to emulate typical human thought processes to the extent that they learn by experience. And the key thing about that is that if you with machine learning, you can write software that once it understands all the parameters, is able to put that stuff together and come up with new thoughts. I mean, it's synthetic. It's not like human thoughts. But what that means is that you can then have them do things computationally a lot faster than we can do it as humans with far less error. Now, if you think about it, to put this in a really simple context, to make it much more easy to understand, Google have been doing this for decades, because every time you go and search for, Stadia Dosage on Google, and you put, the guy that does Stadia and blah, 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 you put a kind of bunch of human words together, machine learning in a very, very fast algorithm takes your string of words and it puts it into something that means that relates to its data, and it goes off and finds pages that it thinks are what you're looking for. It's thinking for you. Right. But that's machine learning in essence.
And then it learns that statement as well. So that
every time
it's incrementally educate itself.
Does more. So they've been doing this for a long, long time. And what we're seeing is Erin Hoffman-John, who essentially heads up Google Stadia Star Labs, which is, I always like to use the term like their skunk works. Back in the day, you'd have these guys that were doing all these secret military projects, moonshot stuff, and stealth fighters and things. So she heads this up, and what they've done is Google have said, look guys, we've got all these amazing machine learning tools, all these algorithms that we've been using to process data and understand stuff and speed things up. Couldn't you do something with this, from a game perspective? So they've taken these tools and they said, well, let's break down all the facets and aspects of development or developing a game. And they've isolated that about 70% of the game is kind of grunt work. And I don't in any way wish to undermine or demean the developers when I say this, because clearly some very, very clever people involved in this. But there's some stuff in there, for example, game balancing, which essentially means if you were to just be let loose with a computer, let's say you go into PubG and the computer's playing you in its rawest sense, you can't move, you're dead, because it knows exactly where you are at all times. You're just a bunch of pixels in there, right? So they have to build in balancing so that the game doesn't spot that you're there if it's a bot. Or if you're behind a rock, you have to build in the balancing to not know that you're there, because it shouldn't be able to see you behind a rock and all that kind of stuff. And that takes a while to tweak in a game. And even after it's, if you take Destiny, for example, how many times did they keep tweaking, Crucible, because it just kind of wasn't feeling right. The guns they're too overpowered or what have you. This is the whole balancing thing. Now you can teach with machine learning software to do that automatically really, really fast. A bunch of stuff, rocks and debris and wind direction and stuff. And yep, here you go. We've balanced the game. So if you could do that in a fraction of the time, then you can obviously shrink down the amount of people needed to build a game and make that whole process a lot quicker. And then beyond that, they're looking at ways whereby the algorithms can actually design aspects of the game and build in new functionality. Like they've shown a brilliant demo of Guilt, where they took the basic vanilla Guild that you and I play, and they've added multiplayer. Simply by saying, if we duplicate what's in the game, so we've got the character, we've got the physics, we've got the movement and so on, and the way that the light bounces off walls, and then the software has duplicated it and then created the control set so that another player can play with you, and that can all be done with software. So in essence, Chimera is, I think it's a sort of an umbrella term for all of this kind of work. That they're using machine learning and oh crikey, the word's gone out of my head. Artificial intelligence. Thank you. Artificial intelligence to think ahead in terms of game development, and it's going to make an absolutely unbelievably massive difference. But Google are in a unique position because this is what they do. this whole form of creating algorithms to understand and second guess, and think about that in terms of Stadia. We've heard them say how they've written algorithms to second guess us in the game, to pre-guess and preload the section. That's all part of this process. That's all come out of Star Labs.
I've said before. So we talk about how Google, a bit like Netflix, coming into a market and what we call market disruptors. They change the way business is done. We've talked about that from a publishing point of view, and we talk about it a lot. Like, this is changing the way people play their games. But what we sometimes forget, this is not just changing the industry from a publishing point of view and the way people play their games. It's also going to change in the same disruptive manner the way games are actually developed. And this idea that you don't need a team of 150 people, artists and designers, to create all the assets necessary to populate this world, when you can have a team of 14 because you're using this machine learning. We give them a set of basic rules and they learn their way through it. If you look on YouTube for people who do basic machine learning demos, and they'll say, take a basic, say, a stick figure animation, give it some basic rules about its bone structure or whatever, and then they say, right, teach yourself to walk. And you'll see the stick figure kind of get up, fall down, get up, fall down, get up, fall down. And then it does, then they put it on, it does it like 1,000 times. And about the 1,000th time, it learns to stand up. And then you do another 1,000 times, it knows to step forward. And that process is obviously done like a absolutely, hyper level, blistering speed. And you can see it, how it, basic rules, it's learned to stand up, stand on its 2 feet, start walking, and then start running. And that is machine learning, when you just give it some basic rules and then it teaches itself, basically. So you're not saying this is how to do it, now go do it. It's saying here, it's going less than that. Here's some fundamental basic rules, now learn your way into it. And that's how they'll be able to say, right, we need worlds which are populated with animals and trees and whatnot.
Amazing.
Go build levels. These are the basic rules you need to apply, and then the machine through iteration, and the balancing comes through iteration. It takes human people to say, try the game a few times. Oh no, that gun needs nerfing. You see it all the time, like in Overwatch. People go, oh, they're always nerfing the characters because they're going, it's too powerful. The balance isn't right. All the games like that have constant balancing the developers going through. Machine learning can do that in like an hour, because they'll play the game 1,000 times, speed it up, get the balance right, and go, there we are, this is the balance.
Amazing. Amazing.
And then the basic work is done, and then humans can then make the adjustments for that
exactly
humanity that doesn't exist in machine learning.
And that's basically how a team of 14 would be able to make it. I mean, they're not blowing smoke up our cabooses. I mean, this is how they would be able to do it, because the assets would be the way I look at it, and correct me if I'm wrong, the way I look at it is some of the base assets that are already programmed in the game, they would use those to determine if we said, put a picture on the wall over there in the left corner, what the picture will look like, what the, if we say we want a picture from Monet up there, or a 5-legged animal, it would be able to pretty much use the assets that are already in the game to help curtail that, opposed to you having to build it from scratch, which is fantastic. And the way I describe it, the best way I understood it, it allows developers to have more time to kick the tires a little bit more and do QC and be a little bit more artistic, opposed to having to pound thousands and thousands of hours into putting in code just for aesthetics. You know what I mean? So that's why I think
we've seen some of it. So this idea of procedural development. So in No Man's Sky,
I was just going to go there. You're right,
old minds think alike. Yes. I'm right with you guys.
An early example of it, and the whole people got so hyped about it because he's basically saying you have 1 trillion worlds.
Yeah.
Because we've just basically said here are the rules for animals. And here's a library of types of animals. Now mix it up. So on a simple level, that's what No Man's Sky is. It creates worlds, planets with different fauna and different animals and sort of landscapes and stuff like that, and they're all procedurally generated. So machine learning is a bit like that. So, but imagine, but on a much more now, Google are doing it, and they have the power, all the knowledge that Google have. Plus, you think about the asset library it has in terms of, because one way that they do machine learning is by getting the computer, the robot, whatever it is, to look at images. And it can do that at a kind of incredible rate. So if you say, right, look at images of animals or whatever, it can go through its massive image asset library that exists on the web.
Yes.
And then learn everything there is about what animals look like, how they're structured, whatever, and go, right, now create your own animal that does this. And it go, yeah, there you are. I've learned. Yeah. That's machine learning. It can do it at an infinite scale that humans can't do.
And they use the power of distributed computing. So they've got thousands of machines that are all connected. And again, this was something mentioned at the last GDC, and it goes right back. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, Clive, but back in the day there was a thing called Kai's Power Tools, which was a sort of an add-on for Photoshop, and it used Mandelbrot, which is those beautiful naturally occurring fractals, and to generate these amazing mountainscapes and landscapes. And again, they don't exist in data form. It's just it starts off with a root as a fractal and allows it to grow, and then it adds in some random element that then turns into snow and so on and so forth, and it happens so fast you don't notice it. That's all coming. I mean, there's in one of my Stadia Rokks pre-recorded shows, I think it's number 8, where I talk about the future of Stadia. And I actually close saying that, I can imagine with what's happening at Star Labs, I can imagine in, say, 5 or 10 years, maybe 10 years time, you'd fire up Stadia and you'd literally choose a kind of game that you want to play and, sort of style that you're interested in. And on the fly, it generates your own custom game, purely on the fly. And if it's really good, and your friends are going, what a great game you've conceived with that power there, you could maybe whack it up on the store and take a percentage of the sale as well. So I could absolutely imagine this world in a few years' time.
I think there are things that the thing is, with soothsayers is there are things that are beyond our kin. We don't know or can't envisage. We've seen it already through technology, but there are things that we can't think of because it's just not within the dimension of our thinking right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep. And in a way, that's not too dissimilar with programming a computer, because it can only do its machine languagey bit when it has its parameters. And at this moment in time, we don't have those parameters to be able to think, which in a way is where religion comes from. If you don't have the knowledge, then you have to create a world or some kind of an existence. And so that's essentially where we are. We've failed to second guess Google so far, and all we can really do is dream and stream.
6.4 says the current model of gaming hardware is what the smartphone is to the flip phone. I see 6.4 in the chat.
Good shout.
True.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting point as well. Talking about, a lot of people, Stadia, cloud gaming is I still see it that cloud gaming will never catch on. It's like, to me, when I bought my first phone, I had my friends say to me, why would I want to carry a phone? I'm never going to have a phone. I don't want people ringing me all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
And then within about 5 years, because everybody has a phone, but they were all Nokias. Yeah. Everybody had a Nokia. There was only one phone to have, the big dominant brand, Nokia. Now where are they?
Yep.
Owned by Microsoft.
Yeah, but exactly, and they killed. But the point is that they're no longer a phone brand in the way that if you see a person in the street, name a phone brand, they go Apple, iPhone, Android. And no one's going to say Nokia, but Nokia were the biggest phone on the marketplace, but they're gone. And that's, people, that's why I look at, people who talk about, stone cloud gaming. It's like, your console could go that way. If it doesn't change, adapt. We know Xbox is changing and adapting. That's all I'm saying.
Last of the Boy Scouts, guys. Yeah, I mean, look, and Clive, you brought that up, and that's funny because I laughed and I chuckled because I was one of those people. I don't want people to hear me on the bus. That's so stupid. That's idiotic. now I can't. Now I have my wife uttering to me, "You cannot live without that damn cell phone." You know what I mean? I'm on it so much. You know, she's like, "Do you even know what I look like anymore?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not trying to figure it out anytime soon." You know, so exactly. Yep. Send me a thumbnail and I'll check you out. Yeah. So that's where we're at right now. And there's always people that are going to be the last kicking and screaming. But we got to drag them to, and excuse the pun here, but you know, you got to drag them to the backyard and take them out of their misery like old Yeller. You know what I mean? With their kicking and screaming. It is what it is. You know. So, hey, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Adam. What were you going to say?
No. I was going to say, you know, these things. I think half of it is these things have typically happened over a much longer time frame. Yeah. You don't even know that it's happening around you culturally. But we live in a world now where you wake up in the morning and there's a whole new thing. I mean, who knew where we would be? You know, all of us today in our homes, locked away 6 months ago. I mean, it's unimaginable.
Well, you think how old YouTube is?
Yeah,
it's less than 10 years old, less than that. Right.
Absolutely.
And before YouTube, even like a year before YouTube, nobody said, you know what we need? We need a channel where a place on the web where you could upload your own video. That would be a great idea. Nobody said that.
Nobody said that. Nobody said that.
One couple of guys thought it'd be cool if we do that and we'll go to the zoo.
Yeah.
10 years later, it's like, what the, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But there are things that we just aren't thinking about.
Yeah.
Because we can't see it.
Yeah,
electric cars.
Yep.
Who knew?
Yep. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
I still want my flying car though. They've been talking about that since the dawn of sci-fi magazine.
Exactly. We're gonna get it.
I haven't had a car for 5 years.
Oh wow.
I got rid of mine and I haven't regretted it one day.
What do you have?
I just walk, bus, get lifts. I just didn't
really just do the shopping.
No, I don't do the shopping. I get it delivered, don't you? We have a man in a van that turns up.
Guys, all great, interesting stuff. Excuse me. I'm glad that you guys got me so excited. I'm choked up. You guys, I love how you guys break down the tech and again, make it relative to and relatable to the average Joe Schmo. The chat was excited. They're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe!" Yeah, but this is why Google and what they're doing is a big deal. And as I was trying to explain to my panel mates yesterday, like this is beyond just having an exclusive here or there. This is beyond the confines of a dedicated device solution. This is experiencing games that you enjoy in a way never ever imagined. You know what I'm saying? And Stream Connect and what do you call that? Crowd Play or just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
If even that, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
frictionless game as they call
all
it.
Things they gave us a glimpse of a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. This is all just a small glimpse. Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a dozen other things that we've not even imagined they're going to be coming out with.
Absolutely.
The stuff they gave a glimpse a year ago works now. It's there. Yeah. So that was a year ago. And so they're just refining it, waiting for the right time to release those features. They already work. They know they do. They've tested it. So in that year, there's the other stuff that we know they've all know is going to be in another year's time or 2 years' time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, guys. So the some of the stuff that's happening in the gaming news, a little bit. I haven't touched on it. It kind of happened last week, but I think there's still important stories. And and I didn't get a chance to touch on them because we had Pablo, who was a former Stadia denier, and he's probably watching right now. And big ups to Pablo. Yep. But I want to talk to you guys about this. Let me put this up on the screen here. Oh, nope, not like that. They're not here for me. They're here to see you guys. Stadia gives praise to Dev. Dev gives praise. Jesus Christ. Dev gives praise to Stadia 2.0 over Xbox Series X. And this kind of piggybacks off of something that Clive was talking about, where Clive, mentioned that Xbox Series X had stated that they're going to do a game presentation soon. I think it's May 7th.
Yeah.
But for those that are curious about what is Stadia going to do, because I got this question last night too. What is Stadia going to do when Xbox Series X can do, 120 frames per second too? And I said the value proposition is bigger than just the frames. I mean, it's the main proposition right now, but it's bigger even when the 2.0 gen releases. And just to give a refresher to those that forgot about the story or never heard the story, there was a developer that's working on next gen software. He's working on, or he or she is working on next gen software for Xbox Series X and Stadia as well. And their Stadia games are actually running better. The games are running better on Stadia than they are the Xbox Series X. And big ups to Stadia Cast that came up with this information. And I want to just read this part. There's a takeaway that Stadia Cast focused on as it relates to this info. To them, another T-flops comparison should not be the focus here. That includes from Google. They also find it important to note that this particular testimony may not be across the board. However, this info should have gamers rest assured that if they want a next-gen experience in fidelity and performance, they don't have to buy the most expensive hardware to have such. Stadia will offer so at a more attractive, consumer-friendly price. In light of this info, it might be hard to disagree with this sentiment. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. I don't know who want to tackle that first, but what do you guys think about this dev that's praising Stadia performance over the Xbox Series X, which seems to be sucking all the oxygen out of the room in some parts as far as power is concerned?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's nice to know, but I think it's completely irrelevant for the average gamer. My take on this is really simple. When people go on about the teraflops and the Ks and the Ps and everything else, as Chase often says, you've only got to look at, what device are more people playing games on than any other device in the world right now. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Who gives us stuff on that about resolution and Ks and frames and everything else? It's about the game. And this is exactly the marketing that Stadia have now launched with, because we and the vocal minority on forum and YouTube that talk about their precious boxes, the majority of people they don't even know what that stuff means. Yeah. They have not got an absolute stuffing clue. All they know is they love playing FIFA, they love playing PubG, they love playing Candy Crush. That's all that matters to them. It's about the game.
Yeah, I think I've said before, this stuff here was aimed at the publishers and the developers. Obviously, a publishing developer, you want to develop on a really cool platform and achieve great detail and all that. And as a consumer, we benefit from that because games look wonderful, and if they look wonderful, it feels real, and the experience feels real, and that's what you want. They've still got to be great games. They've still got to have great mechanics in them and all that kind of stuff. So these, the Ps and the Ks and everything were aimed specifically, I think, at the industry to say this is what this is capable of doing. The other thing is, Xbox One Series X will launch, if it does launch in Thanksgiving or whatever it is, it'll launch then, right? And they'll go, this is what this can achieve. And then it stays in that status for 5 years. They go, there you go, this is what we can do. And Stadia can go, we can do this. Oh, switch it off. Oh, switch it up. Oh, switch it off. You still doing the same thing? Yeah. You still moving Xbox? Switch it up, switch it up. Oh, we'll move it up, move it up, move it down. They can do what you want. The other thing is, so I was reading an old article about how they developed. Actually, it was about GoldenEye, because we talked about GoldenEye on Generation X Gaming Club. We talked about GoldenEye, and I was reading another article about it, and RareWorks, who developed it, was saying, they had to get this kind of special computer when they were developing it, and it was like this big giant square box that they used to use, that only sort of TV companies used to use to generate graphics and stuff back then, and they had to use that to develop the game. So normally when developers are developing games, they have to buy before a console is launched, they have to get the console kits, which are massive, basically massive computers and stuff. But with the secret hardware on it eventually, or an aspect of it that's easily you can transfer to the console in question. Okay, so and that's a massive investment. The thing about Stadia is, and this is what this article talks about, is they can go to the developer and say, well, you're actually developing in the cloud. So we don't have to ship a big box to you to do your development and all your assets. You can do it in the cloud. And then also when we go, actually, we've decided to upgrade this bit. They don't have to ship out another load of boxes to all the developers, because they just said, we've just flicked a switch. You can now use this amount of processing power. And for a developer, that's going to be an absolute dream. Plus, if you've got a team, and they mentioned it at the GDC thing that they did, the Stadia did, that if you've got teams all over the world, you're developing for a system that's in the cloud. So everybody can work on the same system, whether you've got development studios in Poland, in Australia, in America. So the flexibility that offers, the upgradability that can be done on an iterative level for a developer, that's going to be sweet.
Absolutely. We did have one more.
Rock, sorry, you put it in the chat there. Silicon graphics boxes.
Oh,
that's what they were. Yeah.
I did want to pick you guys' brain for one more story, but I'm definitely going to have you two back, whether you like it or not. We're going to figure out something. You guys got to come back.
Half the fee, 2 for 1 next time.
I enjoyed this too much, so I'll save that for then. I mean, it was fantastic picking your brain on the stuff that I had questions about, because people get tired of me spitting it in my pop filter and yelling and screaming like that, so it was great to have you guys on there.
I told you earlier, man, you take me to the bridge. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard the creaking of my steps earlier, but that was my wife trying to give me the cue. You need to come downstairs. I'm like, no, you're going to wait this time.
You're missing the Waltons.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I enjoyed this a lot. So what we're going to do is, I'm not going to make this about me anymore. I want to make this about the viewing public. And they have a lot of questions. So what I ask you guys that are watching right now live, that post your questions down here in our comment section. And so, because I'm old and I only got half a good eye here, do me a huge favor and just say, hey, at Stadia Dosage, or you can do it at Stadia Rokks or at Clive, let us know, and then we'll pull out your questions, and over the next few moments, we'll answer them. I know Clive and Adam, you probably were looking at the show notes and you're like, hold on, what the hell is this stuff means for the Q&A. These are suggestions that people have that I thought were excellent and that I wanted to keep archived. And as you can see, I'm very superficial and self-absorbed. 2 of them are from me, but the rest are from the.
Your number one is a big one for me. I've been harping on about this.
Yeah, and that is more than one at a time on a family plan. So let's discuss that a little bit as the chat gets their questions together. What I asked for was, look, one of the biggest things that I tried to do a year ago was I tried to convert over to PC, because I just wasn't feeling consoles. And this is before Stadia was a thing, of course. And it didn't work out because there was like 5 or 6 of us. We were buying games and we said, we're going to game share on Steam. Unfortunately, Steam only lets you, you can game share, but you can only play the game one person at a time. Yep. And we said, oh, well, that just kills everything. And unfortunately, Stadia is in the same boat. I kind of get it with Stadia because they're newer. They got to build on these relationships. They don't really have the numbers and participation to try to negotiate or bargain against this. But I would really like to see them do whatever they can do to have it more than one person at a time. Adam chimed in on this first. Let's start with Adam. Adam, what do you think about this one person at a time thing?
This has been a big one for me, and if anything, this is the only thing that I've said to criticize the most, because you can't do it at the moment if you use the family plan with Android. It's one at a time, and it seems to me that if one of the major features of Stadia is the fact that you can play with your family. I've just bought Monopoly. I want to be able to play with my girls. I can't anyway, because A, it's not free, and B, and they're on the free plan. B, it's not. Excuse me. You can't do the family thing. I've run out of water as well. It's an old man's throat. Yeah. It's a big missing piece. If you're going to attract the families, And Clive's Minor Celebrity paid tribute to this earlier. You need to have the ability to have more people play, and average family size 4.4 or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
it needs to be up to 6. I mean, that's not Netflix and Spotify and all the other guys let you do.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, so exactly, the Spotify, Netflix is a good example, but Google Music, so Google already have family share, where sometimes it might cost a little bit more, but where you can basically, Google Music, you share your Google Music with the family. Everybody has access to all the stuff, and you can play all the the stuff, and that's kind of cool. And then if I look at the console, so with the Xbox, you can share your gold account. If you've got 2 Xboxes, you can share your gold account. So I often play with my son. So as I play Sea of Thieves or something, and well, it's a Games Pass game anyway, so that's not a good example. But say Overwatch, as long as there's an Overwatch installed on both machines, then you can share the gold live, so that only one of you's paying the gold live account, and then we can play in the same game at the same time together. So I think some scenario a bit like that with Google Music, where or Netflix, where you can have those family accounts, and then that allows them to share that Prime game with the Prime owner, as it were, of that account. I mean, they have to limit it to a certain amount, but definitely, it's if you want families to play, 3 or 4 or something like that would be a perfect thing to do, I think.
Yeah, I used Monopoly as an example, but of course it was rubbish, because you can couch play. You could have a whole bunch of people play that one. But I guess if in the case of myself, Division's maybe a good example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something where you don't have necessarily that ability. And of course, my daughter with Destiny. So when her 2-3 months runs out, she's not going to be able to play that game with me anymore. And it would be nice that I can say, don't worry, because you're on the family plan, and we can both play together.
Exactly. Yeah, I think at least 2 at a time, I think is a good start. If you can grow from that, if you can grow from that, great. But if not, and I get it. You got to have the numbers first for publishers to say, okay, I'm comfortable with that, because that's you got to have some negotiation chips with that. But I mean, it kind of and it doesn't work for Steam. It really was a big damper on us, and I think it does damper a lot of people who look at Steam and say, well, look, I'll put it like this. It's a known fact that it's cheaper to get games on Steam than it is anywhere else. You know what I mean? So if it puts a damper on Steam, where you can get games cheap anyway, where you could say, okay, well, I'll just get this game that's normal retail $60 anywhere else, but it's $20, on Steam. If it's going to put a damper on Steam, then it's definitely going to put a damper on Stadia. So we're just mentioning, we're not trying, this isn't RIP Stadia, this is just some things to put in the airwaves here, Yeah. So great question. Now let's go to the chat, because they have a lot of stuff that they're asking. We got Little Tortilla Boy. I love that name. He has Jack Black here. That's perfect. Yeah. Stadia Dosage. Do you think because of how liberal Microsoft is with their IPs that we'll see games such as Sea of Thieves on Stadia, considering how Phil Spencer said he'd like to bring Halo to PlayStation? That's an interesting one. What are you guys' thoughts on that? How liberal do you think Microsoft will be, even though they announced Stadia as a core competitor that will see their games on the platform?
Well, you're going to get a really good answer from Clive, so I'll build him up with my rubbish one. I think that we're moving towards a world where IP will be the ruler. I think Sony know this. They know that at the moment they may be king of the console. And don't get me wrong, guys, I'm a PlayStation player by tradition. But I think they know that this is the last gen for them, and they don't have a backup in terms of cloud gaming. No. So the only thing they're going to be left with is their IP and further investment therein. And where that appears is essentially wherever it can be sold. And I think we're going to see that not only with obviously PlayStation, but ultimately Xbox as well. The only thing with them is, of course, they're going to have xCloud. But again, ultimately, they're looking to sell games. I mean, looking to make money. And I think the one thing that Google have been very clever about is that they're sort of saying, look, you know what, this is a fairly agnostic platform. You know, we're using open source software. Just build this stuff and put it on there. So yeah, I think it's going to be all about the IPs moving into the future. Not for the next 5 years, though. I think we have to see through this new next generation of consoles. Post that, it's all going to be about cloud and IP.
Yeah, to answer little tortilla boys, in simple terms, no. And I'll tell you why. So as Adam says there, is that it's about the IP. So you basically what you'll end up with a series of platforms, okay? Xbox, PlayStation, you know, Stadia, others, whoever it is, right? And they'll have lots of, and you could, so it's just your choice which platform do you want to play your games on? Yeah, all the general games to be available to play on. So how do you differentiate yourself? It's just like the TV model. You know, Netflix originally just was like rent some movies and TV shows, but then they started investing in their own stuff so that they had stuff that you could only get on Netflix, so that you had a reason to subscribe to Netflix as opposed to subscribe to Amazon. Then Amazon started investing in shows so that you had a reason to go to Amazon. So you need the IPs to do that, and you need that exclusivity on that IP. And the other thing about Microsoft is, or Xbox, or Microsoft actually, is I've noticed that they've started making what were Xbox games exclusives available as part of on the PC, but under that Microsoft banner, so the Xbox banner. So what Xbox are doing are focusing more about Xbox games being available to play on two different on various platforms. You know, interesting enough, play them on PC, play them on Xbox, play them on Project xCloud. A similar play the game you want where you want it. Have we heard that before?
Yes,
maybe. So it's that's what Phil Spencer, you could see what they're doing, and that's why they've invested heavily in studios over the last few years. And it's now we're going to start seeing a whole shed load of exclusives to Xbox and PC. So Xbox Games Pass for PC is now launched as well. So it's all about making Microsoft and Xbox a place to play certain games. And you like the Netflix model, you want your House of Cards or whatever it is, your exclusive titles, to get them there, because they've seen that's how PlayStation built up the popularity, having those big exclusives. And that's what will differentiate you in the end from just being another platform on which people could choose to play games. And so Stadia will have their exclusives, games that you could only play on Stadia because of the way it's made. And that will be the great differentiator. But it takes, even with the super machine learning, you know, maybe it won't take the 3 years it would normally do. It may take a year, but it will be a while till we see those.
I think as well, it's a little bit like both, you're right, Clive, both Microsoft and Sony have, interestingly enough, exposed themselves a little bit by allowing their games to appear on PC. And to me, it's a bit like the bat bites the pig gets the virus, and the virus gets to humans. So I mean, just to kind of make it very topical. So essentially, you know, these two bats have essentially gone, well, we'll go with the PC because it's just one step away. And Stadia is still fairly neutral in this territory. So I could absolutely imagine, and once it's been developed for PC, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to Stadia. So, and you know where I was just, something that Clive just said at the end there, which just sparked off a thought. Maybe one of the big things that they're doing with Chimera isn't not so much at this stage about assisting with general game development, but actually assisting with porting games to Stadia. So they've taken, you know, they're maybe writing code that can do that automatically. So if you've got a legacy game or a game that you've not been building around Stadia or as part of the mix, here you go. Here's our box of algorithms, and it'll do it for you in 3 days.
Yeah. Interesting. Next question, which is a very good question and definitely beyond my pay grade. Stadia from Alakazam. Stadia Dosage. Do you think Stadia will get into VR? I think they can create the oasis. What do you guys think? Who wants to tackle that first?
You go first, Clive.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And again, I'm going to sound like a person who, you know, everything I'm sort of anti against, like, oh, it'll never happen. You know, part of me just thinks is VR a thing? I think augmented reality is more of a goer than VR. There's something disconnecting about VR, oddly enough. So no, I don't think VR. I think VR has already had its day in a way. I know that sounds controversial. You heard it here, folks. I think augmented reality. Imagine walking instead of walking around a world that is created and then populated with demons and beasts that you then fight or whatever. Imagine walking around your real world, like we've already seen with Pokemon and stuff like that. You know, but having a sort of a pair of glasses like my glasses that then somehow projected some augmented reality in the real world that you could interact with. We've seen it with Minecraft as well. They're doing that Minecraft, augmented reality Minecraft, where you could build Minecraft worlds in your back garden, if that makes sense, you know, using augmented reality. So I think that's where, if anything, we'll see it. And of course, maybe, I mean, I touched very briefly on Google Glass being sort of about the only genuine hardware that they did sort of dash, although it's still used by business, interestingly enough. Google Glasses. So they already, you know, that technology that there is well old. So imagine the version of that now, but sort of games or some sort of augmented reality games driven by your phone, whatever, which is driving, you know, stuff from the cloud. Like, so we can already play Doom Eternal on our phone. So all it needs is then the phone to send it to your augmented reality things, to your glasses, project the image onto your eye as you're looking at the real world, and you're interacting with some ogre or something. Or they might send a few people a bit doolally if that was the case. But I could see that being a thing.
Yeah, me too. I think personally, I think more AR than VR, although there are lots of clues, not least of which on, I think Stadia Source wrote an interesting article where they showed that quite a few developers that are working on games for Stadia actually have VR titles coming up. And I think I mentioned a while back, I'd seen a few job vacancies for Stadia, for VR engineers. So it's happening, whether or not, but tempering the thought, what we also know about Google per se is they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. It never makes its way into any commercial sense. So just because they're playing with it doesn't mean it's going to happen. And what it could do, as Clive says, is it could manifest itself into something around AR, or even maybe a technology that we've as yet not even considered. Thinking about how these guys
think. Game right into your retina.
Yeah, that's it. Like a stick thing, going back to your bloke learning to walk.
Yeah.
All right, and I think we'll wrap this up with our last question here, gentlemen, which is from Christopher Therese. He says, "A Stadia Dosage, will you think Google themselves will develop games instead of relying on other developers, because they do develop everything else when it comes to Google Classroom, on education, etc.? What are you guys' thoughts on that? You want to tackle that first, Adam, and then Clive?
Yeah, well, they are developing games themselves, and they've got 2 studios currently, one in California, one in Canada, and they also have offshoots in places like London, and these are working very much on their own IP, their own games. They're maybe a little bit behind where Amazon are, for example, because Amazon are also bringing out their own cloud gaming platform, and they've been developing their own games now for a few years, but certainly that's happening. They're also working with people like Splash Damage to co-develop and speed up that process. So yeah, it's fundamental to what they're looking to do. And I think not so much because they think that's a great way necessarily to build huge revenue, but because I think they feel it's the only way that they can shortcut showing off the power of Stadia, because obviously what we're getting at the moment are titles like Doom Eternal, which has got, not actually doesn't have anything going on in it that's Stadia-esque, but games like Division 2, which has obviously got some Stadia features in it. But I think they've got, as we said earlier, we've only seen 3 or 4, 5 or 6 features that they wanted to expose to the public yet. I think there's a ton of features that they developers probably know about. We certainly don't know, but they're not ready yet because it's not in their game cycle to build those titles. So Stadia have to build them themselves to show the power. And everybody talks. I know you talk about it, MM. I know that Chase talks about it, about this kind of, massive Ready Player One game that is a world in itself, and never, take Destiny and multiply it by 1,000, or Warframe, or any of those kind of huge MMOs that are just worlds to be explored. And imagine if aspects of those games were procedurally created, so every day it built a whole new part of a landscape with stuff to explore that the developers weren't even aware of. The developers wake up in the morning and are just as surprised that the machine learning algorithms have built another 16 miles of game for everyone to explore. That's the kind of stuff that's coming, and they're developing it behind the scenes.
We know they've got their own, it's well published that they create their own studios, but I think they also take like the Microsoft Studios approach. So it'll be a series of co-productions and acquisitions to bring people into the family. We know they've headed up the creative side with, ex Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft people as well. Sharon Studstill is in there for a reason, and that studio specifically is to create what a Stadia what I would call an in-house game. And then you've got Star Labs, as Adam mentioned, which is specifically about developing the tech tools for their studio to use, but also then offer that to other studios who are developing specifically Stadia related games. So we know they've already got their own studios, but it will be a mixed economy of co-productions, acquisitions, and their own in-house studios, which they're building up. We already know because they put key people in place, and the key people then employ people below them who employ people below them. So we know that they're building out that structure already. So we're going to see some, games which are, are maximize what Stadia can do. One thing I kind of was thinking about before today in terms of the lifestyle of a console is the best games are not the games that are there on release. The best games of that console are the ones that come 3 years into the life of a console, because by that time the developers have had a chance to understand what can it do, because what techie guys are like, proper techie, they really want to push things to the limit. And that takes time to people to really try things out, and so your first games are like just scratch the surface of what that console can do. As we get into it, and so in order to pioneer that, the in-house Stadia studios will be the ones that are pioneering things we haven't seen before, things that really pushing the Stadia tech in a way that the other developers can't quite get to, but then we'll get to once the tools have been proven. And that's really the function of, as I say, Star Labs and the in-house studios, is to really say, what does the audience want, and what can we do? What can we push, in a way that Stadia can do that no one else can do?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this is all amazing information. And I saw a comment here. Hold on, wait, let me see. Alakazam says, in reference to what we're talking about, alien technology. Yeah, absolutely. Raindrop is she's a mob member of the trash mob of the Division 2 clan, and she says good content today. Absolutely. This is I nothing to take away from any of my previous shows. I've always felt like that I've had to give my 2 cents on stuff. I really didn't feel like I needed to even be here today. Like, you guys pretty much added so much more to our understanding of what this platform can provide, and to give us a glimpse into the future more than I ever could. That I think that anybody that was wise enough to see you two guys were going to be on here and listen, really got something today. So I really appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you so much. And if you're not wild like me, you need to get a CAT scan. But for the rest of us that are wild, you can catch these guys every week, right, on the Generation X Club Gaming, right? And did I get that time frame right? Every week?
Gaming Club.
Generation X Gaming Club.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I'm going to
put. But as we get older, it'll probably be that.
Hey, old dirty blasters, man. We're accepting applications. Hey, look, I imagine a logo to be like a walker with a gun wrapped taped to it with an ace bandage. You know what I mean? That could be a
bit of 80s vibe going in there.
Yeah. Miami Vice trousers.
Yeah, Max Headroom. You know, announcing
Max Headroom. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's that going on. Good day.
That first link, guys, was to Generation X Club Gaming, to their YouTube channel. They have a separate YouTube channel. Here goes the links to their individual YouTube channels, because even solo, these guys curate and create good stuff. So this is Clive's channel right here. And then this is, these links are available for both our YouTube and Facebook viewers and listeners. Thank you very much. And here goes Adam's, aka Stadia Rokks channel. Definitely sub to him. Like, don't play around. Sub to him, because they provide breakdowns and perspective of it. Look, these aren't two guys that I grabbed out of the pub or the bar during comedy hour. These guys know their stuff, right? And I think they proved that. All right.
Power of the world. I tell you. Come on my show.
Yeah.
I love you.
Definitely check them out.
I love you.
Definitely check them out. This is one of shows that I can just sit back, kick back, have me a couple of drinks, and then just learn. I love them, and we definitely got to have you guys back, because I think I could definitely relate to you guys' take on gaming. But before we go, I dropped the links to your channels. Let's start with Clive. Anything else you want to talk about that you're getting into this week, my good friend?
Well, I've just discovered we've got a new gaming rig. So, and I always thought my broadband was the issue, but no, it was my lack of oomph in my old gaming laptop. So now I can stream live, and I can stream my Stadia on the Chrome browser live. Awesome. So I have a small sort of gaming channel, which I just do live streaming. And the plan was that if they ever released their streaming to YouTube thing, I was just going to do Stadia exclusive games. So now I can do that. And I tested it last night with PubG and my the GF I mentioned, and it was hilarious. I'm doing a lot more live streaming of games on my gaming channel, Lord Kensal of Stadia. Check it out.
Awesome.
The Lord
Kensal of Stadia.
Well, funnily enough, tomorrow I think it's 1 p.m. Tomorrow morning, Andy Morphs is locking himself in a box.
Yes. Oh, awesome. Yes.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't know. I think it's absolute genius. He's such a great guy. So he's doing that in honor of Get Packed. And then a whole bunch of creators are playing with him through the day. I've got a slot at 1 o'clock with Stadia Mania, who's in the chat this evening, Lee. Awesome. So we're going to be playing around our lunchtime tomorrow. So I'll be munching on a chicken sandwich and packing stuff in the back of a van, and hopefully getting a rock around the clock out, because I was going to get one out today, but I was too eager to come on your show, so it didn't happen. So hopefully tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, just so much. So thank you so much for having us on. You're a legend anyway, and this is you must come on Generation X actually.
Yeah. Hey, I would love to be there. I'm going to sell you guys on signing up to Old Dirty Blasters. Trust me. If I got to send you signed walkers, I'll do it. If I got to do that, whatever.
I love that name, man.
Yeah, but no. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry. What were you going to say, Adam?
No, I was saying Old Dirty Blasters, really fitting for us. We're old, very dirty, and we're
dirty, and we love blasting. Hey. Speaking of that, Raindrop says, I think she's asking Clive this. She said, hey, what is the next PubG stream? I love it.
I will. You just make sure you check out my Twitter and stuff. I haven't decided yet. I've got the kids over at the moment, so it will be sometime this weekend. That's the plan, anyway. But I'll try and make a regular. I'll try and establish a regular slot. But it was funny jumping in the rock because it's PubG because they're American cars, and I was with my girlfriend, and so we're panicking, and I said, "Quick, jump in that camper van," and I jumped the wrong side, and I'm saying to her, drive. What are you doing? What are you doing? Drive. For God, just press the LR, drive. And then I realized it was me sitting in the driver's seat.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah, we definitely got to check that out. So yes, see Clive playing PubG and getting on the wrong side of the American car. With that said, I don't have anything in store tomorrow. I'm gonna probably do some game streams. I'm gonna do some I want to play Octopath Traveler. Fantastic game. It's going to be worth my wife kicking my ass all up and down the boulevard when she finds her credit card statement next month. It's fantastic. Definitely get that game. And Stadia is just on a trajectory course up, and I'm excited to be here at the beginning of this stuff. And thank you for the kind words. But no, I mean the community needs this type of stuff that they get from you guys. So again, everyone that's listening, whether it's live or on demand, please go to these individuals' YouTube channels, go to Generation X Gaming. Please check out their stuff.
Yeah, blame Clive. It could have just been called Generation X. He's always got to have that one extra bit on the end of it.
One extra syllable in there, huh? Yeah. No, good stuff. Definitely. And I want to thank you guys for being so patient. I know it's late where you're at. It's like 10:30 at night. But thank you so much for indulging this channel and enlightening this community the way you do. Thank you so much. And with that said, one last link book. If you're looking at this and you're like these are 3 old Stadia shills, you ain't got to take our word for it how well this platform performs. I just dropped the link. Go to stadia.google.com and try it for yourselves. It's just that simple, guys. So guys and gals. Yeah, exactly. With that being said, thank you so much, guys. And as always, thank you for joining us. You have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.
Thanks, chat.
Peace out.
Not sorry. Stay sick cause I follow my gut. They say I was pushing my luck. I'ma push me, I'm at all